All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the BF Tailgate. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me, as always, on Twitter at Judge Mathis. I am joined by feature writer here at Buffalo Fanatics, Mitch Brodeur, as well as two people who are always active in the comments section of our show, Mr. Ryan Sullivan and Mr. Randy Hardman. How's everybody doing today, gentlemen?
Good.
It's game day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, great.
I have been waiting for this game for a long, long time. Just so everyone knows, this show is, as always, sponsored by our friends over at Manscaped. And I don't know if you guys know this yet, but we're winners now. The Buffalo Bills are winners, and winners shave their balls. So head on over to manscaped.com, use the promo code Fanatics, and you can get 20% off using the promo code Fanatics, free shipping as well. So head on over to Fanatics. All right. Another quick announcement before we get started. A whole bunch of quick announcements today. BF has you covered literally the entire day today, from right now until postgame, because we have our 3-hour pregame, which is kicking off with the four of us. Then live during the game on YouTube, Pierre will be watching live and reacting live to the game. So we will have you covered throughout the entirety of the game. And then obviously Rico's going to have you covered post-game. So we have you covered here at BF. And we're going to get started now with the conversation in terms of the Buffalo Bills. But remember, you can always jump to the bottom or to the top of the line with a super chat. So if you have a question, a comment, a take that you want to get off your chest and you want it to be spoken about right away, hit us up with a super chat and we will get your question, comment, or take on the board. But Mitch, I want to start with you today because last week you released, I believe on Christmas Day, because that was Thursday, your Thursday thought. And what was your Thursday thought this week on the Buffalo Fanatics blog?
So a quick little backstory. So I think it was about a week or two ago, I was on the Tailgate, the writer's room with Adam Nanini, our chief editor for the website. And I talked about, I think, Epenesa, we were talking about a slow start. And I was noticing for him, it looked like he, wasn't physically looking the same as he was in Iowa. So I decided to do a little bit of a kind of deep dive into that. And sure enough, Epenesa's down 20 pounds since his junior season at Iowa. He's from 280 to 260. And I just think that might have contributed to a slow start because not only was it kind of a, odd off season that was shortened, not only is he a rookie, stepping up to the big leagues, but he had to completely transform his body from day one. So I just kind of dove into that and kind of just found some research and some old draft takes about Epenesa, which kind of goes against what the Bills have been using him as a lot of draft analysts had him as a D tackle potentially. And obviously the Bills have no intentions of using him as a defensive tackle. So, but you can catch that on the website. Released last on Thursday. So yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you what, like the second he showed up and the pictures were shown of him, images shown of him, I'm like, this doesn't look like the guy we saw at Iowa. He looks like he's trying to be a speed rusher when he was known throughout college as sort of a power rusher. Randy, you're a college guy. Were you surprised when you saw AJ Epenesa? And do you think he's a better fit at 260 or 280?
Yeah, I mean, based on what you saw from Iowa the first time, in preseason, or not preseason, but the first couple of games, his body did look different. But I think one of the important things to remember about Epenesa is that he wasn't winning with bulk at Iowa. A lot of the scouting report on him was about how violent his hands were and how heavy his hands were. And that's not really going to change based on, him changing his body type, because he's still a strong guy just in general. So it doesn't concern me as much. I think it's actually done well because we've seen him a couple times get some backside pursuit that I don't think he necessarily would have gotten, if he was still playing at that college playing weight. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I think he's coming along rather nicely. I wasn't a big fan of the pick to begin with, but he has proven me wrong so far. So I don't have a problem.
Awesome. All right, we got a super chat coming in from Scott Vanaloo. Scott, we always appreciate the super chats. He says, Green Bay won against the Titans, but we hold the tiebreaker against the Steelers, even though they won on Sunday. So we just have to win tonight, and we can still lock down the second seed in the playoffs. I believe that is accurate since the Titans lost, correct?
Yes.
Ryan, you've been following that pretty closely. Is that correct? If the Bills win tonight,
yeah, I think
locked in?
because if we end up tied with Pittsburgh, I'm pretty sure we have the tiebreaker.
Yeah. So we can. Yeah. If we win out, we're a 2. If we win tonight, lose next week, we're the 3. And if we lose out, we're the 4.
So wait, if we win tonight and lose next week, we're the 3?
If Pittsburgh wins next week.
So
do they have the tiebreaker over us?
So the Bills and the Steelers have the same. If they have the same record, the Bills get the nod because they have the head-to-head. So basically, if the Steelers went out and the Bills lose one of these last 2 games, technically the Steelers would have the better record, right?
Oh.
So as long as we have the same record as Pittsburgh or a better record, the 2 seed is Buffalo's, because especially if they win tonight, Tennessee will be 2 games behind, and they're kind of lumped into that 10-5 mess in the AFC playoff picture. So I think that if the Bills win tonight, they're in a pretty good shape where basically you win and they clinch the 2 seed next week.
Tennessee could still miss the playoffs completely.
Yeah, which is crazy. I'll tell you what, like, I was really peeved when I saw the Sunday night matchup was the Washington football team versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, I understand the markets and all that, but like, are you kidding me? Like, the NFL should make an exception that when a conference embarrasses itself so badly, if there is another worthy team, I really do think that whoever loses out, whether it's Baltimore, Tennessee, Indy, or Cleveland, they should get to represent the NFC East in the playoffs this year. Move them over, slide them on over, put them in the NFC East, because that's an absolute joke. But not only are they're going to get a playoff game, a home playoff game too.
Yeah,
absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. I know it only happens like every 5 years. Like, it hasn't happened since I remember a Sunday Night Football game where the winner of Rams Seahawks went to 8-8, and they made the playoffs. And I think Seattle actually went on a run that year with beast mode. But still, like, it's just embarrassing. We got Stephen Murphy coming in. He says, somebody tell Rico my Pat's blanket is stiff as cardboard right now. He advised me to use it as a rag a few months ago. How about Steven? How about this? Tell him yourself, my man. Come on here. Stick with us throughout the entire pregame show. Stick with us for Pierre during the game, and then stay up late, little Monday late night action, and catch Pierre or catch Rico yourself. I'm sure he'd love to hear that one from you there, Steven. So, Ryan, while we're on the conversation of playoffs, and while we're on the conversation of whether to play guys or maybe to not play guys as these 2 games progress, you did a little bit of research today on how teams fare when they rest their starters, and what's sort of the conclusion that you came to?
Yeah, so I went back and I kind of looked at the different teams that have rested over the years, and it's not actually as common as you think. Bills did it last year, Minnesota did it last year. And when I said rested, I looked at the box score. I didn't go back and watch tape. When I looked at the box score, if it looked like the quarterback and the running back only had 5, 6, or 7 attempts, I consider that rest, because I'm assuming they got 1, maybe 2 drives. So, I went in expecting to see, because everyone's like, oh, well, teams lose the momentum, teams start to lag when you take that week off and you rest, but there's really not a whole lot of evidence to back that up. Buffalo, yeah, they lost last year, but they got out of that game hot and they collapsed at the end. I don't think you can attribute that to rest. Minnesota did it last year. They won their wild card game, lost in the division. New Orleans did in 2018, got to the conference championship. The Eagles did it in 2017, won the Super Bowl. Chiefs did it in 2017, lost the wild card game. Steelers did it in 2016, lost conference. So there's no real evidence that resting does anything. And I was someone who, if you check my Twitter accountability, that I want a team to keep going. I want these gaudy records. I want Stephon Diggs to have 1,500 yards. I want Josh Allen to get the 4,500 yards. All this stuff. But there's really, momentum is only as real as you believe it's real. Like the hot hand fallacy, all that stuff. I don't think that taking that rest is really all that effective or really hurts a team in the long run, because you're protecting guys from injuries. And I think the value from that rest is probably greater than, if anything, if there's any effect.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we got Scott chiming in, Scott Vanderloo with another super chat. We appreciate Scott. He says, if we win tonight, we should consider resting some of our starters next week. Less chance that they won't get hurt, and give them time to heal and be ready for the playoffs. So Scott is on the side of resting guys next week. Mitch, what are your thoughts on resting starters heading into the postseason?
To be honest, for the Bills right now, I don't know if I would, because I think that 2 seed is so valuable. Because think about this, guys. If they're the 2 seed, not only is that first wildcard game a home field game, if they win, they get a second home playoff game. And if Kansas City were to get knocked out early, that'd be 3 home playoff games that you could potentially have for this team. And I just think that to have that security blanket of possibly staying home the entire playoffs, whether how likely that may realistically be, but the point being is that I think is so valuable that I believe the starters should play and that they should win these next 2 games, because ultimately, I think, as kind of Ryan said earlier, I mean, I think the resting kind of doesn't matter. I think it all kind of just depends the game plan, how you prepare for the game. So I think that they should try to win these 2 games, get that 2 seed, and have some home playoff games in Buffalo.
Well, and I think that the fact that it's not locked up, it really can't be locked up, I think is going to play into it. And McDermott, I think, said this week that he's going to play for the highest possible seed. So, I mean, I think this isn't a case like last year where we went into week 17 locked into, what was it, 5? So, it's a little bit different that we can't affect our seeding. But I think with that said, if a player has so much as an ingrown toenail, I'd rather have them sit that game than play.
We got Sean Vandenbroek coming in here with a $4.99 super chat. Always appreciate the super chat, Sean. But next time, say something, man. Look at that. That whole comment bubble is blank at the bottom. So here's what, Randy, no big deal. You are going to represent Sean. Your take is representing Sean. What do you think the Buffaloes should do these last 2 weeks of the season in terms of resting starters?
I think they should play to win. Like Ryan said, I'm a believer in the hot hand fallacy. I understand it's a fallacy for a reason, but this team is riding a winning streak. They're riding a big wave of momentum, and I think, any guy can get injured at any point. Somebody can get injured slipping on a mat getting out of the shower, Kevin Kopp. So, it doesn't make any sense to me just to arbitrarily sit guys saying, oh, well, we want them to rest up for next week. Play them. They need to play. You want to go in with as much momentum as possible. And, with that, their whole mantra this entire time has been, we want to host playoff games. So why would you give up a chance to potentially host 2 playoff games instead of just 1? Doesn't make any sense to me. Play to win.
And it doesn't make any difference to you that we're in a year where there's really no fans in the stands?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter to you?
Doesn't matter. The routine of being at home is more valuable than anyone understands, or than most people realize. I think sleeping in your home, your bed at home, not having to deal with any extra travel, things like that, variables, getting a bad night's sleep on a garbage mattress, that type of stuff. You eliminate all that when you're playing at home, and I think they're better off for it.
And I like that. We're going to get to your super chat in one moment. I just want to play a clip real quick from the Overreaction podcast this morning with Joe Miller, because he shares some game sentiments with you, Randy. And if you haven't checked out Joe's pregame podcast, maybe listen to it while you are also watching the pregame show, one in each ear, as you get ready for this Buffalo Bills primetime game. But here's what Joe had to say on resting starters.
Why does the number two seed matter? I see a lot of people talking about it. I see a lot of people talking about resting players, resting starters, not wanting to get anybody hurt. Here's the thing. The number 2 seed is extremely important. It hasn't been important to us in a very, very long time because we haven't really been in the playoffs in some type of scenario where it mattered in a very long time. This is why the number 2 seed matters. Rest, number 1. Rest, rhythm. Rhythm and routines is important. Well, Joe, how are they getting more rest? Well, they're getting more rest because they're not having to prepare for flights. Not only the flight to the game, staying in a hotel room, not sleeping in their own bed, which I would think a lot of you, think about this for a second. There's a number of you listening to this podcast. There's probably 1,000 of you, 2,000 of you listening to this podcast right now that hate sleeping in hotel rooms. Now imagine being 6'4", 280 pounds and sleeping in a hotel room. These guys don't like it easy either. They don't get good sleep. So no flights. So no flight to the game, no hotel room, no flight home from the game. So like this weekend, for instance, the Bills aren't going to get home from New England, which is a relatively short flight, until probably 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Stadium familiarity, so knowing and understanding what the weather is going to be like in the stadium. Sight lines in the stadium, just understanding what to expect or what to feel from the stadium. That is a huge thing. And there's also this year going to be the outside chance for fans, not only in the stadiums that they could potentially go to, but also in Bill Stadium.
Now you'll catch Joe in the next hour as well. He'll be on with Jeff and Clay and Bots. I know a bunch of you were asking before the show even started to make sure Clay does a Manscaped read for you today. And don't you worry, he will. But for me, I want the Buffalo Bills to play their starters this week and next week. And it's not just for the hot hand factor. It's not just sleeping in your own bed factor. For me, what really struck me was Steve Levy did an interview with I believe it was Matthew Perino, or it might have been Channel 7, one of the networks. Steve Levy did an interview, and he said, listen, these Buffalo Bills they're not just a feel-good story. They are legitimately one of the top 3-4 teams in the league. I want to see that number 2 next to our name going into the playoffs. I don't want us to be that feel-good number 4 or that I want us to be the legit number 2 seed heading into the playoffs. If Kansas City gets upended, in the earlier round, in the divisional round, then the Super Bowl goes through Orchard Park, New York. It doesn't go through Tennessee. It doesn't go through Pittsburgh. It doesn't go through Indy. If Kansas City gets upset, it goes through Western New York. We were the clear-cut second best team in the AFC, and we were playing the best football at the end of the season. And that's why I think that I really want to see the Buffalo Bills secure that number 2 seed. We got Rashid coming in. And my apologies for taking so long to get to this, bud. He says, we need to do everything we can to avoid Baltimore style and make Baltimore is the wrong matchup for the Bills. Baltimore is the hot hand, and they are based on the run. Do you guys, is there a team that you guys don't want to see, or do you not really care who we see? Ryan, I'll start with you.
I think we're in a position, like you said, we need to get out of the mindset. I did this a little bit earlier in the week. I talked about it on Twitter that, trying to pick a matchup. And I think first of all, 5 through 7 are so similar and they can all kind of do different things. I would like to avoid playing Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb in a bad weather game, but I think we need to look at it like it is. We're going to be the 2 seed or the 3 seed. We have the best record against opponents that are plus 500. So I don't think it really matters who we play, because eventually if you want to go to the Super Bowl, you're going to have to beat the best team. You're going to have to beat the Chiefs. So if we can't beat Baltimore week 1, our playoff week 1, then we're not going to beat Kansas City. So for me, I almost rather get that game out of the way, prove that we can beat Baltimore, prove that we can beat whoever's there, and then move on. So for me, it doesn't really matter.
Mitch, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, listen, of course, ideally, would I prefer to be playing a rookie, Tua and Brian Flores, who's never, coached in an NFL playoff game as a head coach before, rather than, John Harbaugh and the Ravens? Yeah, of course I would. How could you not? But I think that, we got to remind ourselves, because as much as maybe we don't want to play Baltimore or Indy or Cleveland, I don't think those teams want to play us at all either. I think those teams would much rather play, Pittsburgh right now than come to Buffalo and have to deal with us in the snow and whatnot. So obviously, listen, if we can get a team like Miami, or Cleveland or whoever you might want, for that wild card matchup, that would be great. But at the same time, this team is, in my opinion, too talented and too good to let a team like Baltimore or let a team like Miami come in and upset them in their own building. I just don't think, so I don't know. I think that it doesn't matter so much as long as this team plays up to their caliber and up to their potential. And it shouldn't matter until it comes to Kansas City, hopefully in championship weekend.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind playing Baltimore for a chance to Josh Allen to prove he's better than Lamar Jackson. Randy, how about you?
So, a couple things. I'm not worried about anybody as far as matchups or all that goes for 2 reasons. One, when we played the Titans, short fields, Derrick Henry didn't actually get a lot of yards. They just capitalized on mistakes that the Bills made. Two, what happens when you jump out in front of a run-heavy team? Exhibit A, last night, Green Bay, Tennessee. If we don't make those mistakes to let them get ahead and let them get momentum and get short fields, if the Bills come out and they play their game, Josh Allen comes out in rhythm, they jump on top of teams the way that they've been doing for the last, almost 8 weeks, nobody's keeping pace with this team other than that team in Kansas City. Nobody. It doesn't matter who it is.
Mm-hmm. We got Brian Bowers coming in and says, we don't need to worry about who we play. Like my man Jay Spence said on Twitter, we want all the smoke from whomever we end up playing. We're ready. And I don't disagree with that. Like you just said, Randy, we can beat whoever, as long as we play to the best of our abilities. But I think there is something to be said about, hey, we have 2 weeks of time to kill. And there is, I think, some teams that are more likely to upset us than others. And I would put Baltimore at the very top of that list with the way that they can run the football, keep Josh Allen off the field, and the way they can be really aggressive and force turnovers.
But Indianapolis can run the ball too.
Yeah. We've got a lot of people chiming in about the Davis Webb situation. Now, some news just broke. If you saw me with my head down, it's because I was reading it on my phone. So TJ Yeldon is inactive today due to COVID protocols. John Brown was activated off of IR today to fill that spot left by Jake Krumero, but he is also not playing due to being a close contact of TJ Yeldon. So John Brown is out for this game, as well as practice squad safety Josh Thomas and practice squad running back Christian Wade. So all 4 of those players are out. Really only 2 of them, Yeldon and Brown, matter because they're active rostered players. Now the Buffalo Bills, who had Ty Nsekhe, who was hurting last week with a groin, and Darrell Williams, who was hurting last week with a groin as well. I believe they both had groin injuries. We didn't call up an extra offensive lineman. We called up Davis Webb. So it looks like Nsekhe will be active. It looks like Williams will be active, both playing through injuries. So that goes to show maybe the Bills are playing for something, but then they call up the 3rd string quarterback. I don't know. Mitch, can you wrap your head around why Davis Webb would be the call up in this situation?
You know, the only thing I can come up with here, honestly, is that maybe, they wanted to kind of, I don't know, maybe congratulate him. I know he was he's done a ton for them as far as
the back
team. Yeah. Like, hey, wear a jersey for the game today, I guess. I don't really know, like, what's going on with that, but listen, clearly the tackles are healthy if that's the decision they decided to make. And listen, maybe they're expecting Josh Allen, to pile up the score on New England, and Davis White can even get some playing time today, in a blowout. So
Rudy style, Rudy
right,
style.
Exactly. So I'm not too sure exactly, but that's the only conclusion I can make. Honestly,
I can just picture like every single player in the Bills walking into Sean McDermott's office and placing their uniform on Sean McDermott's desk, and people be like, "Put Davis Webb in, coach. Put Davis Webb in."
Yeah, I mean, they're like, "Hey, this
person picturing right now."
Yeah,
I don't know, Randy. Is there anything going through your mind as to why Davis Webb would be active today? Mike Reali says over Fromm. He's over Fromm because Fromm is literally being kept away from the team.
Yeah,
Fromm is being kept away from the team because of COVID protocols. So in reality, if what happened to Denver happens to the Bills, Jake Fromm is your only quarterback because they are keeping him separated. So technically, in reality, even though he's on the practice squad, Davis Webb is really our 3rd string quarterback. Randy, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if it's for a blowout scenario, then I'm okay with it. If it's because they don't plan on playing all the way through, I'm not happy about it whatsoever. The paranoid part of me thinks that, they're planning on pulling back and not giving it everything and just being content with what they have. I really don't think that's in the DNA of this team. I think it would be a mistake, but you never know. I'm not. I'm a little bit nervous about it. Actually, I saw that on the way here or on the way home from work, and I was immediately like, God damn it, this is not a good thing.
A couple of things. RR Digger 17 coming in says Webb is going to be the 14th Bill to catch a touchdown pass to break the record.
Okay, that'll be fun.
Maybe Brian Daboll's getting a little bored and he needs to throw another quarterback in there. Quite possibly with Jake Krumero leaving. I know Davis Webb is a bigger guy, 6'5", 225. I don't think he's the most athletic guy in the world, but you see on the scout team, he plays defensive back. During the offseason workouts, he was playing cornerback. Maybe it's a special teams thing. Like, I don't know. They're going to put, there have been quarterbacks in the past who have 2 helmets, one for special teams and one for playing football. It's happened before. So maybe Davis Webb has some special teams ability. I don't know. Ryan, is this all just hoping that Josh Allen is playing the full game today?
I think he's going to play the whole game. I think the one critique you can sometimes have of McDermott and Bean is they sometimes do some funky roster moves that are just kind of like quirky. And it's like the last couple of weeks, even though that's probably more controversial, but not dressing Croft the last 3 weeks. Like they sometimes throw little kind of weird roster wrinkles in there that don't make quite sense like this. I don't think we're really going to be talking about it at the end unless he ends up, if we run up the score and Barkley comes in and they put him instead of Barkley. But I think it's going to be mostly a non-story unless, like you guys said, that tackle goes down and Naseki's not dressed and we're stuck with whoever we have on the bench now. But so that's my only take. I really don't think it's going to be much of a story, though.
Can Davis Webb play tackle?
McDermott likes versatility, so maybe
Lee Smith can. We know Lee Smith can step in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Lee Smith will actually be an offensive tackle on his next team, is my prediction. But here's one last theory that I have as to why Davis Webb could have been activated today. Because have you guys seen the New England Patriots injury report? Talk about, like, if we thought Bill Belichick was petty when they were a contending team, he's 10 times pettier when they have no shot in hell, because this is the Patriots injury report coming into this game. He listed 20 players as questionable for this football game. 20 players.
It's pathetic.
So, like, on top of being absolutely pathetic, between him sort of going back and forth between whether it's going to be Cam Newton or Jarrett Stidham, are the Buffalo Bills just feeling so confident they're going to come out here and absolutely curb stomp the New England Patriots on prime time and be up to such a ginormous lead that Matt Barkley goes in the game and they just want Davis Webb there in case Matt Barkley gets hurt so they don't have to put Josh Allen back into the game? Could that seemingly be one of the reasons why Davis Webb gets activated? That seems pretty cocky to me, but I wouldn't put it past Bill Belichick to just absolutely tank it. Like, if there's any coach who will legitimately tank it once he's lost a playoff scenario, it's Bill Belichick, because he's a cold-blooded SOB, and you know how much he loves his draft pick. So let's talk.
I mean, I think some of it's gamesmanship on his part, on McDermott's part, to kind of counteract Belichick in this ridiculous 20-person questionable report. I don't know. I just. Yeah.
It's like psychological warfare. And it's pathetic. The NFL needs to step in because, I mean, come on. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. But
they got dinged a bunch of years ago because there was like 2 or 3 straight years back in like the early 2000s or late 2000s that they were putting Brady on the injury report for like 3 straight years, it felt like. And I think they finally got penalized for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, they put him questionable on the report. What was it, an elbow every week for 3 consecutive years, something like that.
All right, we have 270 people in here watching this show currently, ladies and gentlemen. So if you could please share the heck out of this, we would really appreciate it if you'd share the heck out of it. Let's get everybody as prepared as possible for the Bills and the Patriots on Monday Night Football, and do us a favor and smash that like to help us in the YouTube algorithm as well. We are leading you right off to kickoff. We will be here throughout the game giving live reaction from our man Pierre, and we will be here post-game with Rico. So Buffalo Fanatics has you covered for literally about 9-10 hours today. So share us if possible. Make sure you smash that like if it's not possible to share. We really do appreciate it. Let's get to talking the game a little bit now because we're a half hour in. We haven't even talked the game yet. What do we think the Buffalo Bills are going to come out here and do on offense? Because I think one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, do the Buffalo Bills, even if they're playing their starters, take the pedal off the metal a little bit and maybe go a little bit more vanilla in their scheme, not to put anything on tape for their opponents in the playoffs? Mitch, what do you think? What do you think we're going to see from the Buffalo Bills offense tonight?
I mean, I think we're going to see, whether, they run the ball more, pass the ball more. I think that's more maybe game plan specific, but I don't think they take their foot off the gas. I mean, listen, we're talking about the Patriots, right? The big brother of the AFC East that is just beating us up year in and year out for 20 seasons, right? And this is our chance to sweep them and stomp them for good and officially kind of claim ourselves as the team to beat in the AFC East, not just this season, but moving forward. So in my opinion, you play to win the game, and you do all you can to win this game. And, if Brian Dable wants to go pull some tricks out of the bag, maybe he does. Listen, I'm all for doing all you want, all that it takes to win this game, just because this is the Patriots. It's, again, a primetime game, national audience, to prove how good the Bills are, prove how good Josh Allen is, and prove how bad the Patriots are, maybe for once. So, listen, I'm all for them, full foot on the gas, on offense tonight.
Yeah, and the weather should not be a factor. From everything I've been checking, it should be in the 30s, so I mean it'll be cold, but wind should not be a factor, and it doesn't seem like there's any precipitation. So it's a pretty solid night for football out there in Foxborough. Ryan, what do you think we should expect from the Buffalo Bills offense?
I don't think it's going to be a foot off the gas game, like he said. I, for one, am still scarred by New England. I'm always going to be terrified of playing Bill Belichick in New England. I don't care if they're 0-15. But that said, I think it might look like they're taking the foot off the gas because you look at how New England's been beat. It's running the game or running the ball. Bills put 190 yards on them last time they played. Miami put 238 yards on them last week. They are super, super susceptible to running the ball. So it might be another game where, because Dable, as much as we love the pass game, as much as if you follow me on Twitter during games, very anti-running the ball. But Dable is a guy kind of like the Belichick tree that he's going to do. We're not a passing team. We're a do what it takes to get it done team. So if that's running the ball 40 times, they're going to run the ball 40 times. So I think it's going to be a lot of Zach Moss, a lot of Devin Singletary, and I think it might be, a game where you start to go back towards a 50-50 split in the pass run game, or even maybe more runs than last time, even though I know last time the weather was a little bit more of an issue. But also today, I think J.C. Jackson isn't looking great to play. So maybe and Gilmore's out again. So maybe they try to attack the passing game. But I think we'll see a more running than we normally do out of this team.
Randy, what do you think? Do you think we'll see more run, or do you think it'll be the pass-happy Bills that we've been seeing this year?
So I think, right now we're probably going to start out passing a little bit more to start the game. But there's also kind of a misnomer out there that this is a really pass-heavy team, and I think if you don't really look at it too deep, you might think that. But in reality, they're getting over 100 yards rushing pretty much week in and week out. It's just split over 2 to 3 guys between a couple calls for Allen, mostly Singletary, and a little bit of Moss. At the end of the games to kind of put teams away like they did with Pittsburgh. So I mean, they're getting their yardage. It's just split out amongst several guys. And I think that, like I said before, they need to come out fast, get on top of them, and then kind of do a McDermott game where they're going to end up grinding it out probably in the second half if it's not really a close game at all, would be what I would expect. And it's I've been saying for a couple weeks as the season's progressed that I feel like this offense is reminiscent of those mid-20 teens Patriots offenses, the ones that Brian Dable was, tight ends coaching on with the Hernandez and Gronk, and different personnel, but very much the same approach where they're doing running back by committee and kind of not dinking and dunking, but they're not like a deep strike offense necessarily. It's a lot of mid-intermediate range, pass-heavy type things, but it's not like they're not running the ball. And I think we're very similar to that.
Yeah, I'm kind of with the two of you guys, Ryan and Randy, a combination of that. I think what you're going to see from the Bills today is, I think because New England is so poor against the run, I do think part of not sort of taking your foot off the gas, but maybe taking some pressure off of your passing game and not giving away so many of your passing looks. This is a week where you can go back to like 50-50 ball, where instead of giving Zach Moss 8 carries and Devin Singletary 8 carries, it can be 15 and 15. So you bump it up to about 30 carries from your running back, because we showed in that last Patriots game, we can do damage that way. But it doesn't have to be to the extent of the last Patriots game, because if you go back and you look at the tape of that last Patriots game, they were playing dime the entire game. Like, they literally, like, kudos to Josh Allen. Like, if anyone wants to talk about how Josh Allen's progressed as a quarterback, Bill Belichick went from wanting Josh Allen to throw the ball to doing everything he could to not have Josh Allen throw the ball over the course of a 3-year span. And that's what they did in the last game. They were dropping DBs like crazy. And the Buffalo Bills were like, okay, I guess we have to run it. So that's what they did. But like you said, JC Jackson, unlikely to play. Stephon Gilmore on injured reserve. They're sort of low on DBs and quality DBs. So we could still run the ball and probably still have success in the air, but we don't have to drop back Josh Allen and subject Josh Allen to as many hits to still be effective. And we don't have to give away as much of our playbook to be effective. So I think we will see a little bit of a balance this week, but just so we don't have to give as much away in the playbook. So that being said, with JC Jackson out and Stephon Gilmore out, what do we think the Patriots defense does this week? What kind of defense do we think we see coming from the Patriots? Randy, what do you think the Patriots do? Same as last time or a different approach?
I mean, they don't want to get burned deep. They definitely, absolutely do not want to end up in a foot race and get burned deep. They don't have the horses offensively to do that. So I think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to try and, put us into more run fits and try and slow the game down a lot. My question is, how are they going to do it? I think that, the light came on for Josh at like a little bit around the halfway point this year. Whereas in the beginning of the year, there was, if people dropped his zone, what is he going to do and how's he going to react to it and all that. He was able to beat man early in the season, but then zone was kind of a bugaboo for him. It hasn't been that way the rest of the year. He's been able to figure out everybody going forward. So I don't think there's really much that they can do to slow us down. And it's going to be a rude awakening for Belichick, I think, because this is the end.
All right. Mitch, what do you think? How do you think the Patriots are going to approach the Buffalo Bills from a defensive perspective?
I think it will be relatively similar to maybe what we saw early in the year. I think it's going to be rush for, contain Josh Allen, keep him in the pocket, don't give up anything deep, and kind of force them to dink and dunk and run the ball because this Patriots offense is terrible, frankly. There's really no other way to put it. And the only way that they have a chance in this game is to basically make Buffalo have to kind of work for every, few yards instead of getting the deep shots. Because if the Bills can connect on some big plays, this game will get out of hand quickly because New England just cannot put up points at a high enough rate. So I think it's going to be a lot of, again, soft zone, kind of let them go underneath. If they want to run the ball, so be it. Keep Allen in the pocket. I don't think we're going to see a lot of blitzing and aggressiveness. There might be some, maybe some disguises in coverage. I think they might try to trick Josh Allen into some throws, bait him. But outside of that, I think that's all they really can do in this game because if they want to blitz Josh Allen, you can extend the play and they got one-on-ones all down the field. I don't think they're going to go a lot of single high because that's kind of susceptible to big shots. So I think we're probably going to see a lot of just coverage, rushing for, just trying to kind of keep everything in front of them.
What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, Mitch touched on a lot of things that as you were asking the question that I wrote down, it's what teams have been trying to do all year and is just trying to keep the plays in front of them in the hope that eventually he's going to have a bad read and throw an interception. And I mean, Belichick's a smart guy, and I think anyone he has out there is going to make it tough. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the first few drives we don't get off to the hot start that they normally do because Belichick's doing something unique, whether that's doing those pressures where you blitz the linebacker and drop an end or just, unique, disguising coverages. I think he's going to come out with a lot of creativity probably that just because he's Belichick and I think he's one of the greatest, defensive minds of our generation. I think there might be some trickery that gets us early on, or maybe he makes an adjustment in the second half that trips us up a little bit. But I think what Randy and Mitch said, I think a lot of zone, a lot of underneath stuff, and just having to beat them with 1,000 paper cuts.
And we got Mike Reale coming in and says, hey, last time Josh Allen played this New England team, he went 11 for 18 for 154 yards and an interception. That was his week 8 stat line. I'll tell you what, if I'm Josh Allen, I think one of the things that I want to get off my chest or get off of my shoulders, my back before this season is over is beating Bill Belichick.
Yep.
Like proving that you can beat one of the defensive masterminds, proving you can have a solid game. So I think Josh Allen is going to be extra motivated heading into this game to sort of, all right, I know that they're hurting. I know that their season's over, but it's still Bill Belichick. I want to go out there and prove that I can put up a decent stat line or have a solid game against a Bill Belichick coach football team. I don't think Josh Allen needs to prove that to the world. I think that Josh Allen, just being who he is, wants to prove that to himself. And I think if he can go out here and have a big game against the Bill Belichick coach defense, that can go a long way towards his confidence in the postseason. So I think a lot could potentially be at stake here on this Monday night game in prime time. So the Bills defense and the Patriots offense, what do the Patriots going to do on offense? Is it Cam Newton? Is it Jared Stidham? Are they going to run it 60 times? Are we going to see the Navy playbook? Are they going to throw it to Jacoby Myers a ton? What do you think you're going to see from these New England Patriots this week? Mitch, I'll start with you.
I mean, I think that they're going to run the ball a ton because although the Bills' run defense has gotten a lot better, this is not the Swiss cheese defense we saw, first half of the year. But, under McDermott, they've never been an elite run defense, always been more of a pass defense. So I think we'll see them run the ball a lot. I mean, I've made the joke, right? They are essentially the Navy of the NFL at this point. They really can't throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field with Cam and these receivers. I also saw that Julian Edelman, I think, is done for the season at this point. They're not going to activate him off IR. So all they got is Jacoby Myers. So I think it's going to be a lot of running the ball, a lot of power running right up the middle because the Bills are good at those perimeter runs because they got the speed, the athleticism. They don't have necessarily the big, powerful guys up the middle. So I think we'll see a lot of, runs up the gut. Of course, if you got to make Cam Newton throw the ball eventually for the Patriots and for the Bills. I mean, you can't just run the ball every time and expect to win the game. So, but I think it's going to be a very run-heavy approach from Bill Belichick.
What do you think, Ryan?
I think they're always going to try to run the ball. You never know which back they're going to go to, and I think they're going to try to find ways to get Cam. Whatever reason they're not starting Stidham, they're seeing him every day in practice. So at this point, I'm assuming Stidham is not an NFL caliber quarterback. They've gone this far. So I think McDaniels is going to try to find ways to make the game easier for Cam, whether that's doing some, throws close to the line of scrimmage, screens, wheel routes, something to get Cam's confidence going early to hopefully jumpstart what's been a terrible 2, 3, 4 weeks for him now. I think the Bills are going to have to be really disciplined with their eyes today because McDaniels, like Belichick, I think he's a really competent offensive mind. And if anyone can kind of play above themselves or coach above them, get a team to play above themselves, it's guys like McDaniels and Belichick. So I think you'll see a lot of creativity, and especially because they're not playing for anything today. I think you're going to see a lot of effort. Let's try it, see what happens type of plays today.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of running the football from the New England Patriots, mostly just to keep Josh Allen and the Bills' offense off the field. Randy, do you agree, or do you think we'll see something crazy from Bill Belichick tonight? He's got nothing to lose.
I think whatever analogy you want to use, whether it's a midget trying to dunk a basketball or, throwing a cat in the deep end of the pool and watching it try and swim out, that's going to be the equivalent of New England's offense today. I don't think there's much that they can do right now. Cam, there is something seriously wrong with his shoulder. Mm-hmm. I think his throwing motion has been off for 2 years. He can barely throw the ball anymore. They're one-dimensional. They don't have the horses on the outside to really threaten any level of the defense more than, a couple lucky shots here and there. I think they're going to have to run the ball and hope that that's successful. But again, you can see it coming a mile away if you're Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier. So, stack the box, run heavy, make him beat you with his arm. It's not going to happen today. It's a tough spot for New England to be in, and I don't think they have the horses to really make a game of it right now.
Yeah, and especially if Jared Stidham gets in there at some point.
I
have not been impressed with Jared Stidham at all in his. So, let's talk about it. I think it's pretty simple what the Bills do on offense. Stack that box, drop some guys back and make New England throw the football. Would you agree with that statement, Mitch?
100%. I think even on top of that, right, I think we're going to see a lot of Jordan Poyer in the box. He loves to mix it up in the run game. Taron Johnson in the box. I don't think there's any way you can't not do that. How there's no other way to defend them. It's just force Cam Newton to have to throw the ball literally 10 yards down the field. He can't get it there accurately whatsoever. They could run all the read option with Cam they want, all the power quarterback runs with and then pitch it to Damian Harris, whoever they have at the backfield. But, you got to load up the box and just literally tell them, hey, throw it. Seriously, we're begging you to throw it because New England can't do it right now. They just don't have the ability to challenge pass defenses to any degree at the moment.
And also, New England's, if they're going to go run heavy like this and doing some read option, things like that, A.J. Klein, what he's best at is playing downhill. It's playing into what he does best. Tremaine in the middle, kind of sifting through and plugging the gaps. But, Milano's not fully healthy yet. And that's okay because Klein, they've been utilizing him really well. And like I said, playing downhill is what he does. I mean, you're playing into what Buffalo wants to do. And there's no way around it this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Tyrell Dodson getting some reps this week, maybe taking some of the pressure, continue taking some of the pressure off Milano, part of a stacked box, and even maybe an Andre Smith getting some reps on defense worked in there as well to get him some reps, because those are two guys who can probably handle the run aspects of playing the linebacker position. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get thrown in the mix as well to take some of the pressure off the starters today. Ryan, anything else you might expect from this Bills defense today?
I'd love to see them bring more pressure. I'd love to see them do, whether it's DB blitzes, whether it's bringing Klein, Edmund, something. I would love to see them just try to get in Cam's face early and force him to make some throws that right now he's clearly not able to, and get an early turnover or get an early fumble or whatever it is. Because I think Leslie Frazier, for the last couple of weeks, and McDermott have done a really good job of knowing when to bring pressure, knowing how to bring pressure. So I think for a guy who's really struggling, and, I don't know how much of it's at his arm, how much of it's his head, but just find a way to get him off schedule, try to get him flustered and really just cause havoc early on.
Yeah, without waving like a red flag or anything, I mentioned Tyrell Dodson, Andre Smith, two guys you can work in. I think this is a really great opportunity for the Buffalo Bills to sort of get Levi Wallace and Josh Norman some reps without Trey White on the field. Trey White is dealing with that stinger. Trey White is a very good player. If New England isn't that big of a threat in the passing game anyway, having Levi Wallace and Josh Norman on the field at the same time to give them some reps, maybe every other series take Trey White out or just experiment with Trey White out for a series. I think it would just be really interesting look just to see Levi Wallace and Josh Norman on the field together, as opposed to Trey and Josh or Trey and Levi. Just so us Bills fans can realize how good we have it with Trey, I guess. But I think there are little ways in which we can work in some backups to A, reduce the risk of injury, and B, give some guys some reps in case they have to step up in the playoffs. All right, that brings us to the last aspect that we need to talk about today before we get to game predictions. Again, if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about and you want it to jump to the front of the line, shoot out a super chat and we will get to it ASAP. But special teams, whether it's the New England side of special teams or it is the Buffalo side of special teams, is there anything that you expect out of the ordinary for special teams tonight? I know the one thing I'm looking forward to doing is seeing if maybe Isaiah McKenzie gets some run at punt returner with Andre Roberts struggling with injury and maybe not wanting to rest Micah Hyde. But is anything interesting on special teams stick out to you guys? Ryan, I'll start with you.
Well, one is Roberts definitely out. Do we know that yet?
I don't think he's out, but I know he's dealing with an injury. So, like I said, just sort of with that Levi and Josh Norman sort of, comment I made, maybe every other punt, let Isaiah McKenzie return a punt just to see. Because like Andre Roberts in the last year's contract, I know Isaiah is too, but maybe you want to see Isaiah McKenzie, see if he can catch the football when the ball is punted to him. See what you got in Isaiah. Maybe Andre Roberts' injury flares up in the playoffs and you need some juice on special teams, and Micah Hyde's not giving you that juice. Maybe a game or two of letting Isaiah return some punts gives you that confidence to let Isaiah McKenzie field a punt in the playoffs. So just little things here and there to get some backups in. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Isaiah McKenzie gets a little bit more run on special teams today. But anything else stick out to you?
I mean, with that said about McKenzie, if we're using McKenzie in punt return, I'd rather be it when the game's already out of hand, because I don't know how much he's learned since 2018, but he was not great at returning punts in 2018. I don't remember what the numbers were, but he had quite a few fumbles when they brought him in 2018, if I remember correctly. And I think that's why, and I see what you're saying about explosion, because Hyde is really good at catching the football, but that's it. I don't think I've ever seen a run or can remember a run of his when he catches it.
Incarnated.
And so if the game gets out of hand and we have a chance to throw him in there, but I think Hyde's probably going to be the guy they go with just because he feels very sure hand and he seems to have a good read on whether to let it bounce or catch it or what have it. But yeah, if they have a chance to let someone else back there go, because the game's out of hand for sure. But one way you can let a bad team back in the game super easily is have a muff punt inside your 10, inside your 20, like last week. Luckily, it didn't come back to bite us in the last week, but that I'd be careful with that.
Randy, any surprise on special teams or anything of note from the special teams unit?
I mean, I think they need to be very wary of Matthew Slater.
One of the 20 guys on the injury report, though.
Yeah, I'm sure he's questionable for the game. But, if there's any way that a bad team, like Ryan said, a bad team is going to stay in a game is if they can capitalize on opportunities. And, Slater's one of the best ever special teamers, right behind our Steve Tasker. So if they're going to stay in it, I think a big play on special teams like a block punt or, a block field goal or something like that is going to be kind of a catalyst for them. So just being wary of that, playing max protect, and maybe sacrificing a couple return yards to make sure they don't get one of those big plays is going to be important. On Buffalo's side, I mean, I think taking advantage of every opportunity. Bass, this is a big game for him. It's Monday night. It's prime time. I think it's important for him to come out and continue this hot streak that he's been on.
Mitch, how about you?
So, yeah, I think definitely Slater, got to keep an eye out for him. He's really, probably, the best special teams guy overall, probably in the NFL right now. And then, yeah, with Bass, I mean, I hope it doesn't come down to this, but I'd actually like to see Bass maybe have like a high-pressure kick because it's inevitable there's going to be something like that in the playoffs. And outside of maybe that Jets game, I don't really remember Bass even having to attempt a really high-pressure kind of game-on-the-line kick. Again, hopefully it doesn't come down to that, but I wouldn't mind having to see what could he be like in a moment like that. And as far as returning, I mean, again, I think McKenzie would be interesting to throw him out there. And then I might be mistaken on this, but I think during the 2019 training camp, like that offseason, I think Saron Neal was even a guy they were checking out, a returner. And I've heard that he's one of the fastest guys on the team, believe it or not. So I wouldn't even mind just to see, could he do it? If they don't trust McKenzie catching the ball, is Saron Neal a guy that could be a viable backup option if they need some juice? So, I mean, again, hopefully it doesn't come down to a lot of that stuff we were just saying because, special teams is always good. We don't hear about it, in my opinion. But those are some things I think would be kind of interesting just to see, if they happen and if they do, kind of what's the result. So
we've had some division rivals invading the chat section. Some Dolphins fans, some Jets fans, a little salty. Someone in here says, LOL, and Bills fans are lucky to have Allen and Diggs. Let's see here. We took Josh Allen 7th overall, which means 6 other teams. We weren't lucky to get him. Those 6 other teams were stupid to pass on him. The Buffalo Bills and the Arizona Cardinals were the only 2 teams that were willing to take a shot on Josh Allen. The Buffalo Bills took a shot on Josh Allen when not a lot of people did. So I don't know how that's lucky. I don't know how that's luck. The Buffalo Bills create a culture. The Buffalo Bills brought in a coordinator and they groomed him and they developed him. And 3 seasons of really hard work went into Josh Allen becoming what he became. So I don't know how that's luck. That's just called good football management, which is something the Miami Dolphins are just learning and the Jets have never learned since they had Joe Namath at quarterback. So
and the Dolphins also could have had Justin Herbert this past year and
they
messed that one up big time.
Yeah, and as for the Diggs comment, I mean, we gave up some significant capital to get him. Justin Jefferson was the guy taken in the slot, a guy who's going to be a very good receiver in his own right. So I don't know how it's lucky that we went and we traded draft capital for a guy who's blowing up the league. It's no coincidence that Stephon Diggs left Kirk Cousins and he left Mike Zimmer, and all of a sudden he's happy, he's catching more footballs, and he is a productive, member of a football team. It's not a coincidence. It's not luck. It is the culture that this team created. So Dolphins fans, Jets fans, I normally love the views. I normally love the clicks, but just get the hell out because no one wants to hear from you guys this afternoon. If you're a Patriots fan and you want to be in here and you want to take the verbal abuse that we are going to dish out over the next 2 hours, go for it. But I don't want to hear it from Dolphins fans, and I don't want to hear it from Jets fans. You'll have your opportunity next week, Dolphins, and you'll have your opportunity all off-season Jets fans. Don't you worry, because I'm going to have a lot of fun when you guys either draft Justin Fields, who you're all starting to warm up to now, or you trade back 30 slots and draft another defensive tackle. So
extend Adam Gase.
Yeah, extend Adam Gase. Have fun if you're a Dolphins fan or you're a Jets fan. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get to game predictions real quick, and then we will get Jeff Landers, Joe Miller, Clay Troya. My apologies, Clay. And who's the other one? Bot. And we will get Bot in here. With drafting. So you just drafted an offensive tackle. Anyway. Okay. So, Ryan, what's your game prediction here?
I think I think New England, just because of New England, finds a way to make it a little bit messy. I got 24-13 Bills.
All right. Randy?
So if they play all the way through, I'm going to say 48-10. If they pull starters, we'll go 27-17.
All right, Mitch?
I'm thinking probably, final score will be Buffalo 27. I think New England 17. Also, however, I think that probably comes in garbage time, a touchdown with a bunch of backups on the field. I just don't think this New England offense is going to potentially score, enough points to move the ball enough to win this game.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And I'm going to take the advice of someone here in the chat section. Where is he? Where'd he go? All right. I'm going to take the advice of Noel Leon 1. Who says the guy on the top left needs to shut his mouth. So I'm going to take that advice. And about 1 minute, we're going to head out of here. But before we do, like I said, you have another panel coming up. I will be back in the 7 o'clock hour with the co-host of the Bills Guys podcast. My co-host from the Bills Guys, Air Raid Hour. I can't say Bills Guys. No one tell the Bills. Dave Tilton, Kyle Knapp, and Jeff Landers. Again, we have you covered all the way up to kickoff. Then we have you covered through kickoff, live reaction from our very own Pierre Kingpin throughout the entire game, live on YouTube. And then after the game, you know what to expect. The Rico report will be coming to you live about 15, 20 minutes after the end of the game. And hopefully we won't have rated R Rico tonight. We will have the cuddly, fun-loving, smack-talking, that's for you Dolphins and Jets fans in the chat, Rico, to take us all the way through. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Ryan. Ryan, tell the people about your blog. You have a blog, right?
Yep, it's sportsrock.us. You can find me at my Twitter handle at sportsrock2, coming with all sorts of takes and pictures of my dog. So find me on Twitter. My links to my sites right there.
And Mitch, you want to talk about your feature article real quick?
Yeah, so Thursday Thought comes out on Thursday, obviously, at 1 p.m. every week. Just a kind of a column, just a discussion-based article, gets the dialogue between the fans. And as always, please tell me what you think. Again, you think my take's great, think my take's trash, let me know. I love to hear it. And then follow me at Twitter at Mitchell_Broder. I'd appreciate that greatly. And that's all for me.
All right, Randy, do you have anything to sell, like a channel or a SoundCloud?
No, man, I don't have any shows or anything like that. I know when it comes close to draft time, we'll be talking a little bit more about some things Bills wise.
All right, for sure. All right, Ron, Mitch, Randy, thank you guys so much. We will be back in 1 minute with the next roundtable.
What is going on, everybody? How you guys feeling? What's up, Clay? What's up, my man, Zach?
How's it going?
It is going well, and I've got wrong buttons pushed on my interface over here. Could you guys hear me? Uh-oh. It just got like crazy. Like we got super like that was not me, by the way. I think that was Judge who's in the background and messing around. How's everybody feeling? Welcome, Bills Mafia, into the BF Tailgate Show. I am your host, Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, and sitting next to me over there is Clay Troya. You can find him on the Buffalo Counterpoint podcast. I don't know if we've landed officially a name yet, but you can find Clay also on Twitter at Clay Troya. And down below us is the man, the myth, the legend, Zach, Z-Bot, if you will. And you can find Zach on Twitter at ZACB, so Zach B22. And let's just start this thing off. And they talked about, I don't know how much of the last show you guys caught, they brought up some interesting things that I hadn't really thought about that I want to get to. And one of those is possibly letting Trey sit tonight. But I don't want to get there yet. But I thought that was really neat. So let's just first things first. First feelings for this football game. Zach, we're going to start with you. First feelings about this football game tonight.
Well, my initial feeling, where's the Bojorquez jersey? That's the first thing I noticed before when I got in here.
It's coming. It's coming. This is a Christmas present. This is
well, thank God. All right.
One of several Christmas gifts. I got a bunch of hoodies this year because like I'm old and it's like I'm reaching hoodie. That's not true. I'm old. Yes, that's true. But my daughter McKenna has stolen all of my hoodies. So it's like, babe, I need like a whole bunch of new hoodies. So I got a bunch of new hoodies. So this is just one of them. Super comfortable. But the Bojorquez jersey, yeah, it's going to happen. And I will, just because I've done it the last 4 weeks, I will post a picture of me in it before the game, because much like Greg Thompson eating a steak the night before a Bills game ensures victory, so does apparently me posting a picture of my Bojorquez jersey before the game count. So with that, how are you feeling?
This game means a lot more to me than I think what means meets the eye. If you look at this game, the AFC East is clinched. And I'm hearing a lot of people talk today about seeding not mattering or not being much of an issue. To me, I think it is. But more importantly, I am somebody who looks at this game as the final box that needs to be checked in order for this season to be. But it already is. It's the best season of my life. But if this is the last box that I see for the regular season, that if we're able to check it off, I don't know. I mean, every single thing that basically could have right for the Bills this year will have gone right. They have not swept the Patriots since the 90s. And Belichick has not been a touchdown. Oh, 2002?
Bledsoe's last year.
Right, so
or one of
2002. I mean, at that point, I'm still in diapers, so it might as well have been the 90s. You get my point. At that point, I don't know what the deal is, right? So here we are. We have that opportunity. We're the much better team. Belichick has only been a 7-point underdog once in his entire career. That was back in 2003. The Bills are up to 7.5-point favorites tonight, and I'm looking for a beatdown. I want to see what I saw in Denver against the Patriots, because to me, that will officially be the final nail in the coffin. The AFC East is the Buffalo Bills for the foreseeing future.
Very good. And apparently I'm wrong. And it's not the first time. It's apparently you're right. It was 1999. I thought for some reason it was 2002. So I'm actually typing that I was wrong. So I was wrong. Clay, what you got for me?
I feel pretty good. I mean, we talked on Wednesday as well about this game. I don't think this should even be a close game. It's the Patriots don't have a good roster. Their number one player in Stephon Gilmore is not going to be playing. I think it should be a blowout. This Bills team is so good. And at this point in the season, they really should just go to Gillette Stadium and dominate and show the team that they really are, and really put their foot down and say, we're ready for the playoffs, and we're going to go in there with some heat and with some passion.
That's awesome. Yeah. So my first feelings are very much in line with both of yours, and specifically Zach, just because I said it on the overreaction show that came out today. There's a lot of reasons to want to fight for the number 2 seed and get home field advantage. Not only do you get the first 2 weeks guaranteed to be at home, so fighting for that number 2 seed matters, but there's also the other outlier, which is the Chiefs, who, let's be honest, haven't been playing the best football of late. Yes, they still have only lost 1 game since 2019, but they haven't exactly been playing really good football, and they've not been playing quality talent. If by some freak chance they get beat in the second round of the playoffs, guess what? Everything comes through Buffalo if we're still in it. So for me, this game matters. Now, I'm not saying that like we have to go full bore and Trey White has to play. And like if Stephon Diggs, if he's ailing from a foot injury, has to play, or John Brown, who we clearly found out a couple hours ago they did not activate for this football game. So they feel confident enough with what they have to keep John Brown out. But this game is important. The Dolphins game next week, unless the Steelers lose, is important, but we're not going to find out about that. I don't think the Steelers play before us. So for me, yeah, this game means something. And on top of all of that, the sweep piece, which you talked about, Zach, means something. Getting that proverbial monkey completely off of our backs. Like, no, we didn't back in. Like, we pounded everybody into the turf, like that came into our path, and we're here. Not to mention, let's just be honest, regardless of what Jets and Fins fans are saying in the chat, the Bills are playing, and it's all the pundits are saying it too. The Bills are playing some of the best football in the NFL right now. Like, they're playing outstanding, like ridiculously good football. They are peaking at the right time. And the last thing you want to see is somehow, sync issues start to happen. When you're talking about rest and then you're talking about having to travel because you didn't get the second seed. Like to me, this game is important, not to mention at the end of the day, and I've gotten long-winded, I apologize. This has been what McDermott has been putting in front of his team for 4 years. Imagine playing home football games in the playoffs in Buffalo. They have one guaranteed right now. I promise you he meant more than that. He didn't mean just one. He meant several. And it's right there. So the next piece that they want to grab is right there. So I'm excited about this football game. I'm excited about them all. I loved this weekend. Friday football, Saturday football, Sunday football, capped off with Buffalo in prime time. Let's go. Before we move on, so for everybody that is with us, if we've had some switchover, some changeover, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Buffalo Fanatics Tailgate Show with myself, Joe Miller, Clay Troya, and Zach, and it's good to have you guys. Here's what's up. We want you to be a part of the conversation. I missed the super chat, by the way. I saw you. I'm coming to it. If you want to be part of the conversation, we want you to be a part of the conversation. We want you to drive the content, so please comment and chat with us. If you're watching on Facebook, my recommendation would be that you jump over to YouTube. That seems to be where most of the people are. There's a bunch of people up in here. But if you super chat us, like this, you will actually get our attention. Josh Mays with the super chat. Thanks so much for coming in. Bot talks cap, Pats by 1 million. Bot, can you explain that? Because when I first read it, I was like, Bot talks crap, and I was like, I don't know if I can show that one.
I can explain this one. I can explain this one easily.
I'm like, I'm a Bot fan.
Right? No kidding. I thought everybody was up until this point. No, just kidding. Josh is my best friend. The reason he's throwing $2, which apparently he's got money to burn after Christmas. Maybe his grandma slipped him a couple bucks that he wants to put up on YouTube here. I have no idea, but we had a theory. We talked earlier. Every week that he's told me the Bills are going to lose, they've won. So I begged him. I said, please come on, do whatever it is you got to do. And I'm here for it because, like we like to talk about, we can get a little stitious in here, like we've talked about before the Bajorquez jersey, and Clay saying he wears the colored jersey for each week. If Josh is going to be my superstition and talk crap about the Bills and get the W, all the merrier. Plus a little change in our pocket from Mr. Mays. So we appreciate the super chat, Josh.
Appreciate it. And let's be honest, there's a little superstition going on right here because we started the pregame, like primetime pregame stuff, the three of us together. And I said it in the BF chat when like the call went out for the pregame stuff. I was like, hey, me bot and Clay are undefeated. I don't know what to tell you guys, but like, let's keep this.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And the boho mojo, let's keep the boho mojo rolling. So that'll be worn tonight. Clay, do me a favor. Let's talk real quick just about this football game. And you and I had a great conversation Wednesday on the Hump Day Hotline just about as we broke this game down. What do you think Belichick, again, has anything changed in your opinion about what you think Belichick is going to throw at us defensively? And how do you see the Bills coming out? Do you think they're going to, they've given up 250 yards rushing in the last 2 weeks, right? Do you see the Bills coming out and forcing that run game, or do you see them coming out and beating themselves? So first question, defense for the Patriots. Second question, Bills offense.
I think the Patriots are going to try to force run as much as they can. We saw a lot of 6 DB sets last time. I think we're going to see a lot of the same. I know that there's injuries. They didn't have Stephon Gilmore last time either. I still think they're going to try to force those 6 DB sets. They want the Bills to run the ball. It hasn't been as effective. They've been able to do it to an efficiency level that it's able to complement the pass game so far. But I think they want to make the Bills have to successfully run the football in order for them to win. So they're gonna put as many DBs out there as they've got on the roster, as they're allowed to put out there, basically. And they're gonna make the Bills run the ball as much as they can. As far as what the Bills do, I think they might start out, see what those Patriots are doing. I think they're going to try to come out hot and fire the ball down the field as much as they can, just because I think they want to test out that defense. If there's 6 DBs out there, well, let's see if they can cover. So I think they might come out a little bit hot and see what they've got out of those defensive backs that Belichick puts out there. And if that's not working, they might have to make some adjustments, call a few more run plays, and see what they can do after that.
Yeah, that's good. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, so for this one, obviously the last time we faced the Patriots, the run game was the emphasis. I almost thought it was to a fault. Josh Allen had 18 attempts, and yes, I think we ran for the most we ran all season, just under 200. What I want to see tonight, can Josh Allen be the difference against Belichick and put that ridiculous notion to rest that Belichick eats apart rookie quarterbacks, or not rookie quarterbacks, but younger quarterbacks? Sean McDermott is 1-6 in his career against Bill Belichick. That one win coming this year. That's why this one means so much to me. And on the offensive side of the ball for the Bills, I don't necessarily want to go out tonight and win the way we did last time, where it comes down to a late fourth quarter drive to be a difference maker. I want Josh Allen to have 30 attempts in this one and prove that he himself is the king of the AFC East, and Belichick has no say in the matter. There really is no excuse. Josh Allen just dropped 40 some odd points last week against a Vic Fangio coach defense, which is a top 10 defense in the league. It's not like this week is immeasurably tougher than that. And the fact that they put up the most points in the league last week against that defense was beyond impressive. And it was based on Josh Allen's play. I want to see that tonight. It's all about momentum going into the playoffs. And can you imagine heading into the playoffs after your first AFC East title since 95, you come in and you sweep the Patriots for the first time since 99. Not only that, Josh Allen continues his electrifying play. Patrick Mahomes, I'm sorry, he's not playing good football recently. Josh Allen is playing better football right now than Patrick Mahomes. And I just feel like if he comes out and is the focal point, everybody will finally realize that Josh Allen is no longer afraid, quote unquote, of the New England Patriots.
Yeah, that's super good. You touched on an interesting point, which was that Josh Allen had 18 rushing attempts. Here's my question, and you both can answer. You both can respond. Is it a situation where Josh Allen had 18 rushing attempts due to the looks he was getting, which means they were RPO, so that he had the option to pass or run, and he looked out, saw 6 DBs, saw the defense spread all over the field, was like, I'm just going to run? Or do you think? What's up, Jeff? Welcome.
What up, Joe Miller?
I don't think our paths have ever crossed on the YouTube world. Like, this is like the first time ever, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is, I think. And sorry I couldn't get you the voice shout out you wanted for your podcast the other night, but it was noisy.
It's fine.
In my house. I'm a husband and a girl dad, so I mean,
I am
noisy.
as well. I am also a husband and a girl dad. So anyways, you jumped in and you scared me when you came in. So the question to Bot was, do you think that the 18 rushes were primarily reads from Josh Allen, where he saw the defense and took off, or was it a situation where they were called designed runs for him? Don't everybody answer.
That was the Bot, right? I heard it was the Bot, right?
It was the Bot, yeah.
Well, I should clarify something. Allen had 18 pass attempts that game. I don't think it was 18 rush attempts.
I think you said 18 rush attempts.
If I did, I apologize. It was pass attempts. Yeah. What I was getting at here is I don't want to see Allen throw the ball under 20 times in a game, literally ever. And tonight, for me, is just one of those opportunities where Allen has a chance to do it through the air against the Patriots. I don't think he was given that chance last time around.
Gotcha. Well, let's do this. Let's let Jeff answer. Jeff, I think you heard the question. If Allen is presented with a defense where he's at the line, depending on the call, it's an option for him. I can either throw the ball with the play we have, or I can take off. He's looking at a defense that he saw last time against this Patriots football team, 6 defensive backs, run and dime the whole time. Do you think this time he drops back and he's just like, I'm going to chuck the ball over the yard, or do you think he takes those attempts and rushes with him? What are your thoughts?
I think Josh Allen is going to be Josh Allen, and what that's proven over the last few games is he's going to be smart. So he's going to make the smarter decision because we have seen him take that intellectual step. So if that's a run and get out of bounds or a run and get down, absolutely take it. If he thinks he can find that tight window that we know he's got the arm strength to put it in, go ahead and do that. And since I just jumped on, I want to answer the end of that question with, don't leave a weakness on video this week. That's you good. Have Bill Belichick, the greatest defensive mind in the game, and you have a copycat league. Don't leave a weakness on video this week with 2 weeks to go before the playoffs because the copycats are coming. So Josh Allen, to answer that question, be smart. Yeah, that's what I want out of Josh Allen tonight.
That's super good. We got a super chat. The super chats are weird tonight. So from T. Lacey, thank you for the super chat. A gift from Josh's mom. Merry Christmas, Josh. Appreciate it.
I think Josh made some enemies tonight, Joe. God bless him. He didn't know what he was getting himself into. I hope it was worth the $2 for him. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know who these people are, but I love it. So
I don't know who that is either.
Keep it coming. I love the aspect about tape. And I love the aspect about tape because I'm super interested. I told Clay and I talked about it last week. I put it in my preview show today, the Overreaction Pod today, that I'm really anxious and excited to see what Belichick brings Josh Allen in this offense from a defensive standpoint, because he is, without a doubt, the best defensive schemed coach ever, like as far as scheming against teams and quarterbacks. And we've watched Josh Allen progress to the point where he was able to beat man, and then he struggled with zone. And then he got to the point where he was able to beat zone. And then you saw teams, the 49ers specifically, start out in man and then switch to zone almost to try to confuse him. And he's got it licked. I'm super, super excited just to kind of see what Belichick brings. But the aspect about putting stuff on tape, there was a couple things in the Bills game, I think against Denver, that they threw on tape. And I was like, that was weird. But they're clearly trying to get teams, maybe even Belichick, to kind of prepare for them, which is interesting in and of itself. As far as the game tonight goes, Burkhead is out, right? So I think Harrison is listed as questionable. Half their roster was listed as questionable and limited in practice. What do you expect us to see, Clay, from that rush offense from the Patriots tonight?
I mean, it's still going to be that same Patriots offense. I think they lead the league in rushing attempts. Don't quote me on that. I'm probably wrong. But they're a rush first team, and they've shown that. And you've seen Cam Newton's numbers from the passing standpoint, they're almost non-existent. So they're going to be running the ball as hard as they can. And that's also, that's one of the Bills' weaker points is run defense anyway.
Right.
They've come out and they've shown that they can play run defense. They played good run defense against the Niners. They played good run defense against Derrick Henry and the Titans. But I think they're going to come out with that rush first mentality from the Patriots standpoint, just because that's what they've been doing all year. If they try to come out otherwise, I just don't think Cam has the ability to lead the game from a passing standpoint. If they want to pass the ball, they're probably going to have to put Stidham in.
Yeah, that's good. We may see Stidham in this football game if Cam Newton is ineffective. Steve Mathis, the judge, with the super chat, 300 plus in the house. Smash that like, share. Josh Allen is my daddy. Yes, whatever platform you're on, please jump on that like button, smash it. So we've got 148 likes on YouTube. I don't know what we've got on Facebook and on Twitter, but wherever you are, whatever platform you're watching on, please smash the like button and get our metrics up. Jeff, before you entered, and the last crew was talking about, the last roundtable was talking about just injuries and how they play and the Bills defense facing this Patriots offense. And I want to talk, and we can go around the table too, but we'll start with Jeff. Judge actually said there's a potential or a chance that with the stinger that Trey White got, that the Bills could potentially sit Trey White in this football game, because from a passing standpoint, Cam isn't the threat that somebody like Josh Allen or even Herbert is, right? I mean, the Bills have faced some decent quarterbacks. They've faced some trash quarterbacks this year. Now, Cam has had a couple big games. I don't necessarily know why. I haven't watched the 300-yard game he had and the couple 250-yard games he had. What do you think about that? Do you think this is a game where potentially if Trey needed to get the extra week of rest, he's going to get it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look at the numbers right here. The Patriots offense, 24th in the league, yards per game. They're 30th in yards passing per game. Trey White wants to sit down. You let him sit down.
This is the week.
That's fine. This is the week. And you play your best cornerbacks after that. I mean, you have Dane Jackson, Levi Wallace. They didn't elevate Dane Jackson, but you have him back there if you need him. Levi Wallace, Josh Norman are perfectly capable against a Cam Newton and a Jarrett Stidham if we see Jarrett Stidham at all tonight. So this is not a Patriots offense that should scare Buffalo's defense. And in fact, if you're Leslie Frazier, you want to use this game to keep fine-tuning that momentum. We've seen the defense take its uptick in the last 4 or 5 weeks, 4 or 5 games, that is, with the bye week in there. Sharpen that defensive edge. And if Trey White needs some rest, that's going to give another guy an opportunity to do just that, to get the snaps in going into the playoffs.
So Zach, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be a situation of Norman and Levi on the outsides on those boundaries, or do you see something else from a combination standpoint?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And to Jeff's point, I just think if there's an opportunity to rest Trey White, and if that's necessary, I can't think of a better opportunity to do it. I mean, I could not tell you how the Patriots score anything on a weekly basis, and they have now had, I think, 3 or 4 straight games with 12 points or less. I mean, this is about this is an inept of an offense as it possibly gets, and the Bills' defense is hitting stride. So if you have to take out Trey White in this one for whatever reason in order to get him at his maximum potential going forward, please, by all means, do it. Going back to the original point, though, about the run game compared to the pass game, I think back when we first played the Patriots, the jury was kind of out as to who they were. This was back at the midway point of the season, and we had watched them compete with Seattle, and we had watched them not quite become a Patriots team that you look at and say, oh, that's a win, right? At that point in the season, they were still contending, and at that point, we didn't necessarily know if they were going to wind up having a losing season and being as bad as they are. Tonight, that's on full display. And so if Trey White needs to take a rest, I think going into this one, the Bills defense isn't necessarily going to have their best game in order to keep the Patriots under 20 points. I don't know how they're even capable, but the fact that they scored 45 against the Chargers might be the biggest anomaly of the entire season. I don't understand how that was even possible. I know they had a couple special teams touchdowns in that one, but it's hilarious to me how, you look back at what that game was and you look at what the Bills are now. I just think no matter what the Bills do tonight, scheme-wise, situational, whatever, there's just no way they don't win, and there's no way they don't win big. So no matter what they do on the defensive side of the ball, I just don't see it mattering.
That's good. That's super good stuff. Clay, this is the question I have for you. So the Buffalo Bills are averaging in that 29 to 30 point range. We've seen them do very well, dismantle some very solid defenses recently in the 49ers, in the Steelers, in the Broncos. Obviously, let's give Belichick some credit. So if the Bills were to score 21 points, 24 points, Bob brings up a good point, Jeff brings up a good point. How in the world do the Patriots get to 27 points tonight?
I don't think that they can. I mean, because we kind of touched on it earlier, they're a run-first team. So in order to, naturally, it's going to be a lower-scoring game unless you get a lot of breakaway runs and things like that. You can't really get those big chunk plays if you're not passing the ball effectively. So it's a naturally slower game from an offensive standpoint for those guys. And then to go on top of that, they don't really have the ability to make those big chunk plays. Julian Edelman, who was their main pass catcher and the guy that really contributed to Cam Newton's best game passing, he's not on the field. So, when your best guy is someone that no one really knows outside of Boston or the AFC East, it kind of makes it difficult to be able to get those big chunk plays, which contribute to those points. Kind of going back to what Bot said, I mean, you would have to get points on special teams. You'd have to have some crazy things happen, not just on, offense, maybe get a defensive score. They would need to find points elsewhere in order to get up into that 20-point, high 20s, low 30s range, which is where I think the Bills are going to end up scoring anyway.
Yeah. Clay, what you're talking about, though, that sounds like the 2018 game with the special teams touchdown, the defensive touchdown that the Patriots had. Maybe it was early 2019 game. Brady's last appearance in Orchard Park. He played like crap, and they still came out and won the game because they had defense and special teams.
Right. Right. And that's literally what we've been seeing from the Chiefs. I mean, if we want to talk about the Chiefs not playing their best football, I mean, and the Dolphins as well. The Dolphins have been playing, they've been getting defensive touchdowns, special teams touchdowns, and the Chiefs have been kind of winning, not in spite of Mahomes, but there's an aspect of like they've been playing as a team, which has been pretty fantastic. But Jeff, when we came on before you got here, I started the show with how is everybody feeling? So just their first feelings about this football game. Why don't you go ahead and give us yours real quick, because you didn't get the opportunity to talk about it.
Well, I will do that. I want to get to the super chat if we can that just came in, because I like the topic. Somebody had asked why Davis Webb was active, and I think it could either be Sean McDermott playing games. Well, he's been on the active roster. We'll get the inactives here in about, 25 minutes or so.
Right.
But it could be Sean McDermott playing games. They could pull Josh Allen at halftime, if we have a sizable lead. Who knows what McDermott's thinking. But my feeling on this game, I'm excited. And I have a story to tell you, because when I was a little kid, I was an altar server, and I had to help my priest with a funeral one day. So I got to get out of school, but I had to go up to the gravesite, right? And the priest says, well, when I get to this part, I'm going to say these words, and then I'm going to turn to you, and I want you to throw this clump of dirt onto the coffin. Okay. Well, there's a big rock in the middle of the clump of dirt. And so when he turned to me, nodded, I just tossed gently the clump of dirt onto the coffin, and it made a big old thud. And it was kind of awkward. And if Josh Allen goes out there, the outlaw from Fireball, and he tosses a big old clump of dirt with a rock on that coffin, I'm not going to feel awkward about the Patriots going into their grave. So that's how I feel about this game.
The king is dead. That's good. So the Davis Webb thing is interesting. Is he a special teams player at all?
I would think not.
I would think not either, but I'm trying to figure it out. I'm literally like in my head. I'm like, imagine all of the math formulas going on right now in my head. I'm like, what?
The logical explanation to me would be Josh Allen is coming out of the game and Davis Webb is the backup to Matt Barkley. Once Matt Barkley goes in, Josh Allen isn't going to see the field. It'll be Davis Webb if something happens to Matt Barkley. That would be a logical explanation if he's active for the game, where that's still a question mark.
Correct.
Also, I want to say, I think you're thinking of Joe Webb. Joe,
yeah.
He's the athletic special teamer, multi-position guy. Joe Webb is an unathletic white dude. So I think you're thinking of a completely different guy. I don't think we'll see any of Davis Webb on special teams.
I'm just like, I'm sitting here going, it's like the first time I saw the Jake Kumaro was active earlier in the season. I was like, wait a minute, that's a name I gotta wait. Yeah. Somebody back the train up. So that's good. That's good. I'm looking for some stuff in the comments. If I'm not mistaken, you guys now have control of comments as well, correct?
Ooh, we do.
Was there?
Yeah, I do, because I'm in the system as an admin.
But I think they've upgraded StreamYard at this point, or the platform that we're using. And if I'm not mistaken, can you guys actually throw a comment up? Can you see them and post comments, or no?
I must still be on timeout.
I don't think I can now.
Somebody just did that.
That was me.
I gotcha. Let's go Bills. Let's go Bills.
I have something to bring up if we're looking for a topic here. I saw something posted by the Finsider, which is SB Nation's Dolphins page, and they said it was after their game. They said, we want Buffalo, and I thought that was the funniest thing, because they had just played in a game that they won on an absolute miracle drive at the end of the game with a little bit of Fitzmagic, which, by the way, why would you even need Fitzmagic if you're a team that's so confident in taking on a top 2, top 3 team in the NFL right now, which the Buffalo Bills absolutely are at this point? You don't even have a starting quarterback. I mean, Tua's gotten benched a few times this season at this point, and you're saying bring on one of the top teams? It's just not. It doesn't make any sense to me that these Dolphins fans have so much confidence in this team. I understand that it's arguably the best defense in the game right now. Their defense is phenomenal, and they have great defensive backs. But when you don't have a quarterback or a guy that can throw the ball downfield, he's turning into a captain checkdown really quick.
Oh, for sure. Anybody
that whole storyline absolutely blows my mind, because how do you clearly have no confidence in the kid. And the point that is given to me every time I bring this up is they're trying to make a playoff run. If that's the case, they wouldn't have benched Ryan Fitzpatrick in the first place. He was playing really good football, and they were on a winning streak. Tua is on an audition. If you think anything else, I think you're nuts. They're benching him because clearly he's incapable of pulling off what is asked of him. Ryan Fitzpatrick came in and scored more points than he did in 3 quarters in 1 quarter, essentially 8 minutes, and he comes out and pulls off one of the greatest plays I have ever seen in my life. That was unbelievable. I think Brian Flores is a terrific coach. And people are kind of calling him a genius because he has a reliever and he knows how to deal with him really well, and the communication's really good in the locker room. I'm sorry. If they lose that game, that's not what anybody's saying. What they're saying is, what the hell is going on in that locker room when it comes to the quarterback position? They are going to have a top 7 or so pick with Houston's pick. I just don't see how they don't go quarterback. It seems to me, I've never seen anything like it in my life. They have benched him now twice. You're gonna move forward with that guy at the helm when he clearly has no trust in you believing in him. You clearly have no belief in him in general. And even this week, what did Brian Flores say? If Tua struggles against the Bills, they have a relief pitcher to put in. Tua's going to start that game knowing if one thing goes wrong, Ryan Fitzpatrick's back in the game. I'm sorry. The whole thing is absolutely crazy to me, but I love watching it because it's pure dysfunction.
How old are you? What year were you born?
97.
I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, so you're a little too young to remember a game from 1998. Doug Flutie on a naked bootleg against the Jaguars late in the game to put it away for Buffalo. And then what happens? They go out and sign Rob Johnson to this big old contract, and it's management versus the coaches. The coaches want Doug Flutie to play, and Ralph Wilson pulled out a big old check for Rob Johnson, and what happens? Rob Johnson goes in and just plays like ass against the Titans the following year. This is a management versus coaching hierarchy, insider debate inside the facility. The management wants their draft pick to play, and the coaches want their best opportunity to win. That's what that is in Miami, and that's not going to last long for the Dolphins because tensions are going to rise and it will eventually blow up in their faces. Now, if I'm Brian Flores, I'm absolutely playing Ryan Fitzpatrick because he gives you your best chance to win. Now, if you really wanted to go long-term with Tua, that's fine. That's what the Bills did with Josh Allen in 2018. They pulled the plug on the Doug Whaley era in 2018 and said, sorry, Josh, we're kind of letting you hang out there, and this is a development year for you anyway. Go play. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say we want to make the playoffs and go long with Tua and play the middle game here. You can't do it. It's going to blow up in their faces.
Yeah, that's really – sorry, go ahead, Zach. You're fine. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the one thing that really confused me about that game, it wasn't like the Raiders were up 20. It was a 1-score game, and they were just like, all right, well, it's Fitz time. Like that's what was really confusing to me.
No, there was. So I don't know how many of the three of you played a lot of sports. There's moments in life, golf. Give it to golf. There's times when you just don't know what's going on. Like no matter what I do on my drives, that they're not going down the fairway, and I can't get it figured out. I was going to say this: 2 things. Number one, if you really want to win, is there somebody better to put in the lineup first week of January in Orchard Park, New York, than Ryan Fitzpatrick, who played here for 3 years? Like. That's the guy you want playing quarterback if you're playing football in January in Buffalo, in my opinion. If I'm going to play the opposite side of the conspiracy that Jeff Landers is saying, which is legitimate. So even inside of the best organizations and the best locker rooms where they say, we don't play football politics here, the best player will play. Let's call it the Buffalo Bills. And I don't mean that in air quotes. Let's call it the Bills. There's still politics at play inside of our locker room. The best players don't always play. Cody Ford, Brian Winters, and other guys like that. The reality is sometimes it is what it is. However, if I was going to say one thing, and I challenged Bruce Nolan a little bit, or maybe it was Greg Thompson, one of those guys with this a little bit.
They're the same person. Conspiracy theory.
They're both the FBI.
I like that.
So it was Bruce. Leadership development, stuff like that, and developing people, young people, is what I do. So for all intents and purposes, I can see and envision a scenario or a world where Tua is playing. He's afraid of the window. JP Losman rather made one of the most profound comments that I had ever heard as a young football fan when he said, somebody asked him in the media, what's the biggest difference between the college and the NFL? And he said, in the NFL, guys that are covered are in college are open. And they said that last week, that Tua is just afraid to pull the trigger. The only thing I could think was in a one-score game where he was not effective at all, and he wasn't going to turn it on. There was no corner being turned. Is you put a guy like Fitzpatrick in that throws into those windows and puts the ball on people, paints them with it, and literally it's when you get back to the film room, it's not a situation of, well, Ryan, you weren't in the game. You don't understand what I was seeing. Now, literally, there's film where Ryan can be like, no. This is the same play that you ran, that I ran. You were afraid to throw it to him. Look, he's open. And now look I threw it and he was open. That's the only not fun, but nice side that I can paint. At the end of the day, I'm probably in agreement with Jeff. I think there probably is a little bit of a fight between management and coaching, which is interesting when you consider that like Tua is the future, not Fitzpatrick. So this isn't a situation where Tua is going away next year. Fitzpatrick is the one going away. So they're stuck with this kid. So
to end the drought next week and announce Tua the starter after Fitz just won you the game that fashion is absolutely crazy to me.
It is crazy. It is crazy. Yeah. Clay, you've been quiet for a while. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I've just been reading the comments and listening to you guys talk. I think it's an interesting thing too. I think Tua is, the whole situation out there. Ryan Fitzpatrick gives you the chance to win. I do think Tua is too scared to throw into the windows. He's just not ready. He should have never seen the field. They should have done a Patrick Mahomes system. Alex Smith was there when Patrick Mahomes came in. There was a full season where he could sit back, watch, and learn. And Fitzpatrick's a great guy to sit behind and learn. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers too is another guy who sat and learned. It's not something that's new where it's it's okay to let your early draft pick. It's okay to let him sit behind somebody and learn the game before he goes out there and actually does it. I think he got put on the field too soon.
I agree. So we're still living in wildest dreams land. Part of those wildest dreams is the fact that the Buffalo Bills have a franchise quarterback in 2020 heading into the playoffs, and the quarterback situation on every other team, in the AFC East, is very much in doubt. So let's toss it back to the Patriots game. Cam Newton on this football team next year? Anybody?
No
chance.
Not after this performance.
I like that. Yeah.
I'm in agreement. So who's out there? Who are we afraid of ending up in New England?
Matt Stafford.
Could they get Darnold from the Jets? What would they have to offer up to the Jets to get Darnold?
No way.
I brought this up to somebody on Twitter, and I was like, and somebody, a Jets fan literally said that to me. There's no way the Jets are going to trade Darnold to the Patriots. I was like, they could release him. We've seen the Jets do that before. Oh, this guy isn't happy. We'll just let him go. And we couldn't trade him.
The Jets might need Darnold next year because they're not getting Trevor Lawrence now.
They're going to stick with him. They're going to give him the 5th-year option for sure. Justin Fields is not better than Sam Darnold. They're going to put themselves in a deeper hole trying to dig out of it if they draft a quarterback. They should trade down and get picks. They completely screwed themselves at the end of the year.
It's amazing what you just said, that Justin Fields, you just said Justin Fields is not better than Sam Darnold. Right now, December 28th, 3 weeks before draft day, the Justin Fields hype is going to be, that engine's going to be so hot that they're going to be talking about, is he the overall number one overall pick over Trevor Lawrence? They're dude, that train is about to get fired up big time. So that's going to get totally confusing and blurry.
That depends on what he does against Clemson. If he lays an egg against Clemson.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Delatorre in the comment section says Matt Ryan would be a perfect fit for the Patriots. I don't know what his contract's like at all, if he's up after this year or not. I could see Matt Ryan playing in New England. And I was also thinking, I just had a name slip my mind. Matt
Wentz.
Ryan, and Wentz was also in the comment section. If Patriots want to take on that contract, I don't see how the Eagles don't get rid of that contract.
The only problem with the Eagles contract with Wentz is it's guaranteed, right? Fully guaranteed. And then there's
so much money.
Yeah. And there's conversations about cap stuff, but is the cap a real thing? I mean, it's
going to go down next year because of the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing too. So let's talk about the fact that I think what's the cap hit for Drew Brees? The Drew Brees cap hit is $40 million. And then there's a $20 million for Taysom Hill.
Yeah, he's going to be down. I think he's done after this season.
Really?
He might be. He just had that big rib injury. I think he might be feeling his age a little bit. And he also just broke his record again for pass yards. He's hit a big milestone. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him go. Depends how they do in the playoffs, maybe.
NBC is going to pay him anything he wants to in the booth. So that's on the table. That's already been pretty much confirmed. So I think he walks.
Zach's got some insider information with NBC.
Well, you want to know? Here's my hottest take of the whole thing. If it's not Stafford and anybody else, you want to know who I could really see in New England is Jimmy Garoppolo. I was going to say
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I could see that being reunited because he was Belichick's love child, and Robert Kraft said, "No way, you're shipping him away." And I don't know, Shanahan hates him, and I just think it would be all time.
Bring me Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll take Jimmy Garoppolo in New England. Like that would be great. Like you're talking about.
I want Jimmy Garoppolo in New England as much as I want Adam Gase in New Jersey. That's
exactly.
I'm all on it. Yeah.
So what does anybody have as far as topic? Anybody have any questions, comments? Anybody have?
Yeah, I got a question for you guys. Right. I heard. I think it was Clay bring up a name earlier. It might have been you, Joe, but Cody Ford. Is this offense truly missing Cody Ford? ? And I'm leaning toward no.
I got to ask the question: Cody Ford right guard, Cody Ford right tackle, Cody Ford
left matter?
Guard. Which Cody Ford you talking about?
Doesn't matter. Is the offensive line missing Cody Ford?
I know it's not missing Brian Winters.
Yeah, I don't think they're missing Cody Ford. I mean, I think Cody Ford, if he was in the starting lineup, he would be effective. But I think they have enough players behind Cody Ford that because he hasn't been able to play, that they've been fine with not having him around. Like Bucker's done a fine enough job to fill in earlier. Before we had Feliciano back and before we had figured out our guard situation, I think we were probably missing him a little bit then. I don't know if he was. I don't know how healthy he's been this entire season. I'm just not sure where he's been at physically, but I think he's still so young too. He has time to grow still. Offensive lineman is a position that's so hard to play in the NFL. The young guys almost never are good right out of the gate. So I think he still has time to grow a little bit and get in there. I think he'll be solid someday. I don't think they're missing him right now, but I think he could be a contributor in the future.
That's perfectly said. I sorry, Jeff. I don't think they're missing him now. They could have potentially had a problem, and they could still going forward if somebody gets hurt that puts Brian Winters back in this lineup. It goes back to the football politics for me thing though, because like the entire year last year, like the forcing of Cody Ford at right tackle, when you've got the luxury of a Ty and Secchi on this football team, which we finally got to see him play this year, and dude, they didn't miss a beat against the Denver Broncos. Like Ty and Secchi goes in the game for Williams, and like it was like smooth sailing. Now and Secchi is out for this game, I believe. And we don't have the inactives yet for this game, so we don't know if Williams
should be 2 minutes if my math is correct. It's an hour and a half before the game, right? 90 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it should be about 2 minutes.
Yeah. So he should be. We'll find out in a minute who's going to be playing right tackle. Hopefully it's Darrell Williams because I've said it. You've heard me say it a lot, Clay. He's the unsung hero of this football team, in my opinion. But it'll be the Bills have to draft a guard. I think the very first pick the Bills make in 2021 is a guard if they don't go find one like off a free agency somewhere. But guard, and then second biggest need, and this was a right turn I didn't mean to take, is clearly backup quarterback. So maybe that's why Davis Webb, maybe there's a situation that they're expecting Allen to come out, and it's not going to be Barkley that goes in.
They may want Barkley to be healthy for the playoffs as well, because he's the one that's been active all year. So, okay, we pull Allen, Davis Webb, you're going in as basically an emergency type situation.
Right. As we're waiting for the inactives to come out, Aaron Smith, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for being a contributor to the show. The cap goes down for all teams. They're saying right now, what is it? It's 175 or 185 million. Basically a wash. If anything, a cap shrink helps teams with starting QBs on rookie deals. Go Bills. It'll be interesting to see how the whole thing plays. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about the cap speculation.
Well, I like what he says there. Go ahead, Clay, after I just say that the rookie deal with Josh Allen is going to benefit. Sure. We won't see Josh Allen on a long-term deal until his fifth-year option is over.
Correct.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's, if it shrinks, if the cap comes back before that fifth-year option is up, or if at least it's expected to, the Bills might try to jump the gun on the contract a little bit earlier when the cap is a little bit smaller. That way they can at least, kind of have it weighed out just so that it's smaller in the beginning, and then you've got your buyout options and everything like that. It's going to be a complex contract whenever it does happen. But I think it will be interesting to see how they play that with with the shrinking of the cap space. Will they try to get more guys and just be like, well, the cap space is smaller, we can't pay you as much? I think it'll be an interesting thing between the front office and the agents arguing that out.
There's also a chance that the Bills could do what the Bills could do what the Chiefs did and absorb those last 2 years of his contract, so it doesn't actually kick in until his 6th year. Go ahead, Jeff.
Inactives: Davis Webb, Jake Fromm, Reggie Gilliam, that is, and Trent Murphy are inactive. So here's the active roster: quarterbacks, Josh and Matt. Offensive line, we got Mitch Morse, Ike Butker, Brian Winters, Ryan Bates, Deion Dawkins, Daryl Williams, John Feliciano, Ty Nsekhe. 3 running backs: Zach Moss, Tywan Jones, Devin Singletary. 3 tight ends today: Tyler Kroft, Lee Smith, Dawson Knox. 5 wide: Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis, Stephon Diggs, Andre Roberts, Isaiah McKenzie. Linebackers: Tyler Matakevich, Tremaine Edmonds, Tyrell Dodson, AJ Klein, Matt Milano, Andre Smith. 9 defensive linemen with Hughes, Epenesa, Zimmer, Quentin Jefferson, Ed Oliver, Daryl Johnson, Vernon Butler, Mario Addison, Harrison Phillips. Your defensive backs, 9 of them: Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Taron Johnson, Tre'Davious White, Josh Norman, Dean Marlowe, Cyron Neal, Levi Wallace, Jaquan Johnson. And your 3 specialists, as always: Bass, Bajorquez, and Ferguson. Guys, I'm seeing Tre'Davious White is active. We had talked a little bit, Joe, about maybe sitting him down. So maybe he gets a few snaps in, and maybe he is a backup. Just say, hey, you can take the rest, but if all else fails, we'll need you to go in.
Yeah, if something happens, we'd rather put you in than Isaiah McKenzie. This is an interesting comment from Nathan. Some good players are going to have to be cut this offseason. I'm not so sure. That Trent Murphy's gone, so there's $9 million right there. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's some guys.
He said good players.
My point still stands, because if we cut Trent Murphy and you free up $10 million, Nsekhe's not going to be back on this roster. So there's another 10. So I mean, you're talking. I mean, there's some big chunky numbers on this football team that are not. I'm not sure what Matt cost, what Barkley cost us, but I'm sure it's not $3 million. Maybe it is. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts as far as guys that are going away. Clearly, the priorities are Williams, and I think everybody that I've talked to here besides Jeff has said that we would all sign Williams over Milano if it came down to it. But Milano is a big part of this defense. Go ahead.
Yeah, and what I've said in weeks past is that Bills fans are going to have to get used to watching the Matt Milanos walk out the door. Because if it's a draft and develop league, because of the salary cap, because you're going to have a quarterback who is going to get a long-term extension in 2 years, you're going to have to get used to the Matt Milanos getting drafted, showing out, developing, playing like Pro Bowlers, playing like all pros, and then going out on the open market. Because if you can budget time for Josh Allen to develop and your Dawson Knoxes, if you can budget time for your Dawson Knoxes to develop, you're going to budget your salaries for positions as well. And Matt Milano, I don't think, is going to fit in the Bills' budget for an outside linebacker.
Yeah, that's good. This is another good one, too. So this is an interesting point as far as Smoke being, quote unquote, gone. This team is approaching a great opportunity, to your point, Jeff, of where, like, a lot of these guys that are getting a little long in the tooth, that love the system, love this team, love this city, are willing to renegotiate and kind of stretch some of that money out and take a bit of a pay cut. John Brown is one of those guys. John Brown's a great player. John Brown is a great fit. He was supposed to be here a year earlier than he got here. I don't see a huge market for John Brown after this season. Like, if there's a guy that's like, you know what, stretch me out, 2 more years, 3 more years, bring my base down, it's going to free up some space. There's going to be a lot of fun contract talk like that. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, and we've got the wizard to do it in Big Baller Bean. So I'm not literally whatever Brandon Bean wants to do in the offseason, I'm just going to be like, okay, you got it. Like, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, and Spin has it. This is it. So there's $170 million in contracts already up, not including free agents Milano, Williams, Feliciano, and Roberts. There's only 2 names on that list to me that are priorities, and that's Williams and Feliciano.
Yep, I agree.
Like legit priorities.
And another thing about John Brown too is he's getting up there with age. You know, for skill positions, he's I think he's past 30 or he's at 30. He's right at that age where you're not going to really be making any money on the open market. Even though John Brown is a complete wide receiver, he's a true number one. I don't think if he were to go anywhere, he would be used as a number one. But he's at the age right now where if he goes anywhere else, he's probably not going to be making that much money anyway, unless he's going to a team in desperate need, which likely means that that's not a team that's in a winning position.
Right.
So he might be likely. You know, it's all about what he wants at this point in his career. If he wants to stay with this culture, with this team, and win some more football games, I think we could see him take a pay cut and stay in Buffalo.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Buffalo Fanatics Tailgate on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And I'm your host, Joe Miller. With me is my co-hosts, plural, Jeff, Zach, and Clay. And we're excited that you guys are with us. There's about 400 people up in this mug right now. Whatever platform you're watching on, please do me a favor and smash that like button, share it, let your friends know you're watching, jump in the comments section, chat with us, drive the show. It's good to have you. If you want to get our attention, because the chats are rolling pretty quick, make sure you get on YouTube and super chat us. It'll come up, it'll get our attention, and your chat or your question will get priority. Let's do this. Let's talk about Josh Allen stat lines tonight. That's always a fun topic of conversation. We got 9 minutes left. Josh Allen stat line, Zach, what do you got for him tonight?
Well, for starters, I just wanted to say, I don't know what you guys are in belief in tonight, but I just don't see a way that any backups come in. I don't think they're going to roll over at all tonight unless they're up 25-30 going into the fourth. I just don't see how any backups really get much time, maybe in place of Tre'Davious White. But I just wanted to put that out there. I didn't know what your guys' thoughts were. But as it pertains to Josh Allen's stat line, I think he gets an entire full game here to do what he wants. And I'm really hoping, and I'm going to stick with this because I think this is what's going to happen. It was very obvious last game against the Patriots that the run game was the focal point. I think it would be kind of foolish to go back into this game with the exact same plan. I think they should allow Josh Allen to kind of test the waters against New England and finally have his breakout performance against them. I don't think he cracks 300 yards. I don't think he has 4 touchdowns in this one, but I could see Allen having about 250 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns tonight, or excuse me, 2 passing touchdowns and a rush touchdown. And I don't think he quite has that over-the-top game like we saw against Denver or perhaps against the 49ers, just because it's a divisional game. I think they're going to try and force him into positions he's not as comfortable with. But I think he has a much better performance than he did last time around, and he gets a lot more opportunity to do so.
Good luck finding something he's uncomfortable with. That's the only thing I would say.
Belichick, if anybody, it's him, right? Well, we'll see. That's what I'm looking for tonight.
You say that, but last year they played, I think, 7 of the top 10 defenses in the NFL. This year they've played a bunch of the best defensive minds in the NFL. To me, it's getting to the point where it's like, I'm not sure, like seeing Robert Saleh and seeing and Fangio's faces, like they literally are just flabbergasted. Like, I don't know how to stop this kid. Like, I don't know what to do. So that's why I said I'm excited to see what Belichick does against Josh Allen in this football game. So, Clay, what are your thoughts on Josh Allen's stat line?
I think he'll be hovering right around that 300 mark, over under a little bit here or there, just because I do think they're going to force the run game as much as they can. But I also think Josh he's the most confident he has ever been in as an NFL quarterback. He is very confident in himself, in the people around him, in the playbook and the play caller. He has so much comfort, Steve.
Stop reading the comment.
He's just so comfortable right now, and I think because of the confidence that they have right now, I think he's going to come out, and especially it being the Patriots, he knows that the Patriots have been looming over this Buffalo Bills team for 2 decades now, and I think he understands. I think he kind of puts that on his shoulders a little bit, and he's going to go say, well, I need to go kick their ass for the Bills fans and just to kind of officially bury this and say, these guys are done and it's my turn now.
Jeff.
Sorry, I was scrolling through Twitter trying to find a graphic that obviously when I need it, I cannot find it. But first of all, I came across Judge's mug and I was like, oh, but I came across a tweet from Yards Per Pass, one of our favorite follows, at least mine, with the web talk. And we can get back to Josh Allen in a second. He says, I wonder if when it comes to playoff time, you isolate Barkley instead of Fromm. And so you have Davis Webb starting to get a little bit more play. But that's a good idea. But just throwing that out there back to Josh Allen, he's going to have an above. I don't want to say an above average day just because it's prime time and the Patriots. I think you guys are right. He's going to be around that 300-yard mark. He could have another 4 or 5 touchdowns. 3 passing, 2 rushing. We'll see how he plays. Maybe they want him to go conservative. I don't know. I'm not Brian Dable, but if I'm a betting man, which betting here in Idaho is illegal, so I can't jump on DraftKings and do it. I would probably take over a 300-yard passing.
For me, I think, and I'm rarely right. I was right last week, but I'm rarely right. But to me, I think Josh Allen, I think there's a fire building inside of him. And I know that sounds weird because, we're at week 16. That taste of that Texans game last year, I think is really beginning to fuel him. I think he's caught fire and caught the bug of what it means to be on prime time and really kind of, put on a display and just the team is rallying around him. For me, I see a big game from Josh Allen. I see him putting the league on notice once again in this football game. My only concern is he tries to do it from jump. And what that means is reverting back to Josh Allen, first down, trying to throw the ball 25 yards downfield versus hitting Cole Beasley underneath often and early or hitting, the wide receiver screens or whatever. But I've got Josh around 350, 380 yards in this football game, probably 4 through the air, 1 on the ground. That's just me. Zach Scott. I don't know if you're reading the comments of your.
I would love absolutely nothing more. That just really that struck a nerve.
I think there's a nail that's going in the coffin tonight to Jeff's point about the fistful of dirt with the rock in the middle of it. Question: does Cole Beasley get his 1,000 yards tonight? Anybody?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
How far away is he?
50 yards.
50 yards.
Oh yeah. Oh, easy.
Yeah. So this will be the second time since 2000, or the first time since 2002 that the Bills have had 2,000-yard wide receivers since it was Eric Moulds and Peerless Price, if I'm not mistaken. And then running backs, we've got about 3 minutes left. And then so real quick, is the running back situation a problem for this football team? And what I mean by that is I think we have two complementary backs. I think we have a 2A and a 2B. I don't think we have a 1A. Anybody ever think they have a problem with that?
Well, first of all, I thought you said 2-way, and I was like, wait a minute, what? No, we have
not in Idaho. We don't do that in Idaho.
Well, Joe, like you said when I first came on, this is the first time we've crossed paths.
Yeah.
And what I've been saying for weeks is we just need our rushing game to keep defenses honest, to
Correct.
know that we will rush. It's like and I use the analogy, the Andy Pettit pickoff move. The New York Yankees pitcher, it was an elite pickoff move. It was going to pick guys off multiple times a game. We just need our running attack to be the pitcher that just lobs the ball over to first base to keep the runner honest.
It's good.
That's what we need out of our rushing attack is just be the pitcher that lobs the ball over to first base. We don't need you to pick a ton of guys off. Now, if you want to pick up a run for 51 yards and a touchdown in garbage time to help my fantasy team, that's freaking great. Thank you, Devin Singletary. But we don't need that. We don't need huge chunk plays out of our rushing attack. We just need our rushing attack to pick up 6, 7, 8 yards when they do get the ball so that the defenses can't just play Josh Allen. Super
good. We got 2 minutes left and we're going to jump out of here. And then there's another roundtable coming up after us, and Tilt's already in the backstage waiting to jump on. So game predictions, score predictions. I'll go first. I've got 35-10 Buffalo. Jeff, what do you got?
I told you in my tweet to your podcast that it's going to be 56-10, reverting back to that 2007 Sunday night debacle. So 56-10 Buffalo.
That was supposed to be recorded and emailed to me, by the way. Get it right.
It was noisy. It wouldn't have been good audio.
Clay, what you got?
I got 31-17 Bills. I think it's going to be pretty easy. And before we get off here, I do want to respond. Voodoo Ranger is a Patriots fan. He's been very active and pretty nice here in the chat. He asked us what we're worried about the Patriots. And for me, it's only Bill Belichick. It's a chess match, except the Patriots have mostly pawns. So Bill Belichick's going to have a really good strategy if he wants to have his pawns against a full Bills set.
Totally agree. And I'm worried about Cam running it 50 times. Like literally, that's what I'm worried about. And just like beating down the Bills defense. So, yeah. So did you give your score prediction?
Yes, 31-17. Yep.
Gotcha. Zach, what you got?
Well, I just can't leave here without saying a big double finger to the Colts. That I just had to say that. I hate them. Before the game, the prediction, 31-13 Bills. I think this one might feel over at halftime. I don't know. They're just way, way better. And like we keep talking about, what reason do we have to believe that the Bills aren't capable of pulling off a victory like that against the Patriots?
Yeah, very good. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the BF Tailgate with myself, Jeff Landers, Zach, and Clay. We thank you guys so much. Don't go anywhere. I'm about to fire a 1-minute countdown, and we will have a whole new set of 4 people. But we're excited about this football game. I'm Joe Miller. Go Bills around the table.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
We'll talk to you guys soon enough, and be looking for the Overreaction podcast tomorrow morning, first thing. See you guys.
Well, hello.
Hello.
There.
How's it going? Welcome in, guys. I'm back for the next 45 minutes. I got a nice hard out at 5:45 so I can get home for the Bills game. That is Judge Mathis in your upper right-hand corner. Below him, Tilt Money. And below me, Kyle Napnose Buffalo. Fellas, it is game day as the outlaw from Firebaugh leads the Buffalo Bills into Foxborough, Massachusetts to take on Providence's team, the New England Patriots. Guys, first of all, it's game day. Another Monday night prime time Josh Allen experience about to take off. Thoughts on the game? We'll start with Nap down there, and the mustache Nap.
Yeah, the mustache. It's not a favorite among my friends and family, but if I'm doing my 1/11th to get the Bills to win, so they're just gonna have to suck it up. It's made a couple of big moments in other people's lives at this point now with an engagement party and Christmas photos. So it is what it is with that. But
okay, I'm going to tell you, I live about 2 hours away from where they filmed Napoleon Dynamite, and you could throw a football over the mountains, Uncle Rico.
Look, if they need me, coach, put me in the game. I'm ready to go. But in terms of this game, I'm really excited because I can't actually remember seeing the Bills sweep the Patriots. And I don't care who's on their roster. I don't care who's at quarterback. It still means something to sweep the Patriots for a year. So having the Bills have a chance to do that, especially in Foxborough on Monday Night Football, it's a big moment, even if that team is not at their strongest. So I'm just excited for that opportunity that the Bills have here.
Judge, opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, you guys mentioned it in the previous hour, and I mentioned it in the first hour. Anything Josh Allen can do, like it seems like
You can do better.
Every challenge that's put in front of him, he's always seemed to exceed it, or he found a way to overcome it, even if he struggled at first. The one thing Josh Allen hasn't been able to overcome yet, even though he does have a W, is putting up a good stat line against a Bill Belichick coach defense. So if Josh Allen can come out here against a Bill Belichick coach defense, even if they're missing Lawrence Guy, Stephon Gilmore, J.C. Jackson, it appears is active. I know they're missing Juwan Bentley. Even if they are dinged up, it's still Bill Belichick, and I still think that would be a real confidence booster for Josh Allen heading into the playoffs if he can put up a decent stat line against a Bill Belichick coach defense.
Tilt Money. Show us the money. What are you thinking about tonight, Josh Allen against a Bill Belichick team?
I mean, it's still a big moment. I don't care how down and out the Pats are. It's a primetime game. It's in Foxborough. Like Knapp said, sweeping them and even winning just one. Like a lot of the wins we've had against them outside of the Fitz game from 2013 and things like that. They've been games where like Jimmy G or Jacoby Brissett has started, where it's been kind of like they've been resting guys at the end of the season, and we've kind of just gotten these courtesy wins, if you will, against them. Otherwise, our record against them in the last 20 years would be even worse than it is. So regardless of the records, regardless of the teams on the field, Belichick's still at the helm. This is still a big moment for the Bills to knock off and check another box going into Foxborough, winning on Monday night in a game where, like, to be honest with you, the last couple primetime games against San Fran and Pittsburgh, there's been some split consensus, I'll say, to put it nicely. This game is fairly consensus that the Bills should win, right? So this is one where it's like you're expected to win, go in, do it convincingly, and just put another nail in that coffin to the Patriots dynasty.
Till the Bills are 7.5-point favorites. The over-under is 47 on this game, just to point to what you're talking about. But here's what it comes down to for me, because as fans, all the last month or so, it's been talking about the scenarios and how they're going to play out. This is a reverse for us, a flip side for us, because we're usually trying to talk about scenarios to get in. So we've carried that to the other side of scenarios of who we're going to play, are we going to rest? But that's not the process. The process is anybody, anytime, anywhere. For me, Sean McDermott is not playing for seeding. He's playing for momentum. He's got 2 weeks to get this team to be playing its best football of the season. If he can rest his team next week and keep momentum, he will do that, I believe, because the rest will benefit. But he's got to get to that point. So he's going to go all out in this game. Defense, offense. I don't think we were talking in the last hour that, hey, maybe Davis Webb does get some time if the Bills get a sizable lead. It's possible if they get up 56-10, maybe you see Matt Barkley, since Webb is inactive. But go out there and step on their throats. Take that momentum into next week. Anybody, anytime, anywhere in the playoffs. Because Bills fans are getting ahead of ourselves talking about, do we want Miami? Do we want Cleveland? Do we want Baltimore? Who do we want in the first round? The only thing that's guaranteed is we will be home that second week of January, and it doesn't matter who we're playing. So sharpen your edges as much as you can, and don't worry about 2 weeks from now. Get Josh Allen on a roll. Get your defense continue to peak at this point of the season.
Yeah, I mean, and look, here's the thing. Like, we did rest guys in week 17 last year, and we don't really know how much that affected the Bills against Houston. We came out strong, obviously. So early in the game, it didn't seem to have an effect. So if you can keep momentum and rest guys at the same time, great. But to your point, Jeff, like, I'm not, regardless of what team you play in the first round of the playoffs, it's going to be a good team. We're sitting here talking about how there could be a 10-win team or possibly even an 11-win team in the AFC that doesn't make the playoffs. So it just shows you how good the AFC is top to bottom. And I was talking with Spence yesterday, and we were talking like it doesn't matter what team you play. It's going to be a good to great team. Every team has their flaws, including the Chiefs. So regardless of who you play in the first round, it's going to be a tough game. It doesn't matter who it is. And so I like what you said. Sharpen the edges. Make sure you are sharp. Make sure you've got your process sorted. Make sure you've got your routine sorted. Make sure you've got the momentum. And tonight would be a great way to build on the momentum of, 12-day or whatever, or 10-day break from when we last played against Denver, however many days it's been.
8-9 days?
Yeah.
I forgot to say it was Monday. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm on vacation. There's some football on every day. I forgot today was Monday. It's struggling.
Nap, it's Monday.
I honestly, I've been on vacation for like 3 weeks now, so I've lost track of time.
We need to change the name of your podcast to Nap Knows Mustaches, I think.
Nap takes a nap.
I don't know if I know mustaches. This thing's pretty rough right now.
Well,
I like how
mean, it knows
you know
right
what you
now.
can do
I
though.
like how there's a little gap in the middle. Like you could definitely be like hoarding bowls, like with a little.
Yeah, it's not
Matador.
not by choice that there's a gap in
That
the
is-
middle. That's just this is the best I can do, which is I know it's sad, but it's what I got, so I'm giving my all here.
No bear.
All right, guys.
Just got beers.
Just got Pierce.
How far we've
Hey,
come this season. When this season first started, I was chugging bottles of barefoot wine, like from the bottom on this
It's
show.
true. It's very
You know, and I saw your tweet about you were watching the Bachelorette, and you were also and maybe on your podcast you said you were drinking an organic Michelob. I mean, you could probably be best girlfriends with my wife, like if you're drinking barefoot wine and watching the Bachelorette.
Hey, I got to support all the Buffalo Fanatics podcasts. So if Bree is talking about the Bachelorette, I got to watch the Bachelorette to know what she's talking about. That's what I got to do as the director of podcasting. I got to know.
Is Cam Newton going to be a Bachelorette after this season, looking for a new team?
Oh, I don't know. They might try to wind it back with him again.
Why? Why would they do that?
I don't.
Why would they do that? He has nothing left.
I've heard a couple of people, sort of going back and forth, and they've pondered whether this sort of run first quarterback mentality is something that Josh McDaniels might want to try out, and something that Josh McDaniels might actually want to utilize going forward into the future. Because you got to think all the defenses in the National Football League are built.
He did it with Tebow.
Yeah, are built to stop. The spread offenses that have sort of taken over the National Football League. So if you have a run first quarterback named Cam, yes, it does look good on a resume. But if there's a quarterback from North Dakota State sitting out there called named Trey Lance that New England might be able to get in the middle parts of the first round or the back parts of the first round, you could combine a Trey Lance with a Cam Newton, and Jeremy McDaniels can run that system and flush that system. Then there is also the other direction that this system is just utter garbage, and they are only doing it because they're forced to do it because their quarterbacks are utter high. So, there are both sides to the conversation. I hope they keep them because I think the Buffalo Bills can beat a one-dimensional Patriots team, but they'll have their options, whether it's Carson Wentz or Jimmy Garoppolo or Matthew Stafford or Sam Darnold. Somebody mentioned Matt Ryan, which I thought was a good one. I think that they will have options. Derek Carr could be a possible option. I think there is going to be a massive musical chairs at quarterback this offseason, much like there was last season. So it could get interesting, depending on whether Ben Roethlisberger means it when he's coming back, or whether the Steelers want him, whether Frank Wright wants to roll year 2 with Phillip Rivers, who literally puts everything into a throw that goes 30 yards in the air. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how the quarterbacks market shakes out this offseason.
Well, the important thing is the Buffalo Bills have their guy for the future. And guys, I'll start with you, Tilt. How far can Josh Allen take this team? Because he's playing at an MVP level, and a lot of people like to say that the Bills will go as Josh Allen goes. Is that the truth?
If he plays to his ceiling, which we've seen, I don't even know that we've really seen the full ceiling yet in a full game. I mean, probably the Niners game maybe was as close as you can get to that, but based on what we've seen, and we've seen him do it in multiple games, he can. This guy can win the Super Bowl. Like, I'll say that he is capable for a game or 3 games, however many, how far we get. Obviously, if we make it to the Super Bowl, we'll come down to 1 game, but he is good enough to get hot that we can win with him in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl with him. So it all just depends on if he can stay hot, and if he doesn't kind of revert back to some of those things where he, if he goes back to some of the hero ball stuff where he tries to extend the play and turns the ball over. And he's been good at limiting those kind of bad plays. I understand the gamesmanship, but if he plays to his ceiling, he's good enough to lead the Bills to a Super Bowl. I'll say that.
Does he have to play to a ceiling for the Bills to go all the way, though? I actually don't think he does, because of the way the team is constructed, all of the other players around it, the defense, the way the defense is playing. I'm not saying he has to play. I'm not saying he can be bad. I'm saying if he doesn't have 3 great games in a row, I still think the Bills could get there, and then like they could still do some damage. Obviously, he has to have his best game against the best opponents, but I actually think that the way the Bills team is constructed right now, the way they're kind of firing on all cylinders, as much as we don't think the run game is great, the run game has picked it up a little bit recently. The defense is obviously playing a lot better. I actually don't think that he even has to play his best football for them to do that. It's just going to give them even better of a chance. As long as the rest of and that's all with the caveat that like the rest of the team keeps playing this type of football that we've seen the last couple of weeks.
I think that we saw earlier in the season something that we weren't used to, and that was the offense carrying the defense. And to your point, Knapp, those Bills might come due for the defense where, hey, the defense momentum is picking up, and the defense, without the offense struggling, the defense will be carrying the offense, and the offense won't have to do too much. That is a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could come true that, hey, the defense starts playing their best football in January, and the offense doesn't need to have Josh Allen go for 35 points and a last-minute comeback, as we saw, against the Rams is the one I'm thinking of specifically.
Well, if they get into a game like they played against the Patriots, and we're playing the Patriots tonight, if they get into a game like they played against the Patriots the first time around, let's just say it's Baltimore, because that could be a game where you see something like that, where both teams go run heavy. I'm just kind of making that up. I'm not saying that the Bills would. Yeah, in those situations, I think, as long as Josh is efficient and doesn't turn the ball over, he doesn't necessarily have to have the 304 TDs or 3 or 4 TDs. But like Knapp said, it's going to depend on the opponent, right? I think if Josh, let's say we get to the situation where we're playing the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, if he doesn't have a good game in that scenario, I don't think we can beat the Chiefs with him having just an average game. I'll
Agreed. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think it's more like he doesn't have to have like when the Ravens won their Super Bowl, Joe Flacco had his insane run of 4 great games in a row. I don't think that Allen necessarily has to do that. I think he just has to do what's necessary in the beginning parts, and then as long as they keep moving on and the rest of the team is playing well, obviously he's going to have to play a great game a couple times, but I think the team is actually good enough outside of him where he doesn't have to be the absolute best every single game for this team to win.
Yeah, that's fair.
Judge, you've been unusually quiet for an unusual amount of time, so
I'm not the talker. I'm not the talker of the group, so
I thought we lost you for a second. You had frozen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of time to watch football over the past 4 days. What was it, 4 straight days of football? And, if there was any doubt in my mind, there isn't any doubt anymore. Josh Allen is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the National Football League. Period. End of story. I'm watching Russell Wilson make some god-awful throws. Patrick Mahomes throwing some gaudy interceptions. Every quarterback in every game makes bad throws. It's just as a Bills fan, it's just sort of ingrained in you that Josh Allen is the only quarterback that makes bad throws ever, because he's the only one who seems to ever have his bad throws highlighted. I'd love to get to a point where Josh Allen is just so freaking good that they won't clip all of his 6 bad throws out of 40 and turn it into an episode of a podcast, because that is what some people and some outlets like to do. I could start a podcast today and we could sit here and we could dissect all the bad throws that Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson make in a game. I could, but it's just, it's insane to me. So Knapp is right. He's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League because he's a playmaker and because his team puts up points. So even if he has 1 or 2 average games and just 1 or 2 big games, the Buffalo Bills will be in contention if the defense shows up and if Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott have a game plan. And I hope we win a Super Bowl this year, just so we don't have to listen to the garbage anymore and people will start to realize just how good of a quarterback he is and just how good of a team this team is, because Steve Levy said it. He was talking to a local station this week. He said, everyone thinks that these Buffalo Bills are some kind of feel-good underdog story. And he's like, they're not. They're one of the best 3 teams in the National Football League. And I just want the Buffalo Bills to go out there and show it in the playoffs. And I really hope they do. And being one of the best teams in the National Football League, even if your quarterback only has like a so-so game, you still win. Patrick Mahomes only had a so-so game. They still beat the Falcons.
The Bills' Super Bowl odds have decreased. So last week, they were 1,700 this week. They're at plus 1,000. So their odds have gotten better. They were 5th last week for Super Bowl odds. Now they're 4th. I don't have the teams pulled up right here. And that would be, of course, Kansas City.
While you're pulling that up, I have gotten the Wes Welker comparison before. People have said I do look like him. So
Kansas City, Green Bay, New Orleans, Buffalo. That's your order for Super Bowl odds. That to me very well could be your 2 championship games, Kansas City and Buffalo, and Green Bay against New Orleans, which would just I am rooting for the Don Beebe Bowl, the Bills against the Packers, but the one downside of that would be Judge's prediction would be correct.
Dude, I don't know where Jeff, you're sitting in the seat because of me, my man. I don't know where
no, you are an easy target, sir, and I am a natural ball buster, so you are going to get it more than Nap's mustache.
Yeah.
All right.
We got Wes Welker down here. We got the porn stash over there. And I'm just happy that no one has pointed out that I look like Tim Allen, like halfway into turning into Santa Claus. I'm just really
it's Silent Bob
right now.
No. You look more like you look more like the Home Improvement sidekick.
Oh, okay.
Al Borland.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. You look more like him.
Like everyone
I see that. I would say Silent Bob.
Mustache. My beard has grown to some proportions that it makes me look like I don't have a neck. I have a neck, people. I swear to God. Swear I have a neck. I promise.
All right, guys. Pretty wide open in the comment section. Go ahead, like, share, get in the super chat if you want to bring something up. Here we go. We got a super chat. Let's bring it up without even reading it. First, the Bills have never swept the AFC East. Win tonight and then squish the fish, and we get it done. I'm not going to even bother to fact check. I'm just going to go with that. That is absolutely accurate. So let's beat the Patriots and squish the fish. And you know what? I would love to see the Bills just go out and hang 35 on the Dolphins with Matt Barkley. Like, that would just be an ultimate scenario. If we could see what happened in 2004 to the Bills happen to the Dolphins in 2020, where the Bills, all they had to do was beat the Steelers backups and they completely fell on their faces, that would just be fun. Although I would like to root for a strong AFC East. That way, nobody can say, oh, well, the Bills only won the division when everybody else stunk. Miami gets into the playoffs. That definitely legitimizes Buffalo's winning of the AFC East. So I'm not totally rooting against you. What do you want to see happen over the next 2 weeks? Do you want Josh Allen to play full go both games? What do you want? Nap, I'm going to start with you. And what do you want this organization to do in the final 2 weeks as they maybe play for playoff seeding or they rest guys? What is it to you?
So, I mean, first and foremost, I want to see them play the starters at least at the beginning of the game. I don't want to see the starters have to play the entire game. I want to see everybody leave the game healthy. But for me, I don't have any sort of numbers or any sort of facts to back this up, but it feels like every single time a team rests their main guys week 17 because they've had such a great season that they open up the playoffs really, really off. Like they're just not in rhythm the same way they were before. My mind always goes back to like the mid-2000 Colts when they had some great runs with Peyton Manning in the regular season. And then they're like, you know what? Let's just rest Peyton and let's rest Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, Edgerrin James, all those guys. And they come back and the offense just doesn't look the same. So I don't want to see that happen. I would be really, really annoyed if Josh Allen and Diggs and all of those guys, if they're all inactive next week, I'd be really annoyed with that, to be completely honest. So I want to see them play, but I want to see them play well enough where they can just get out at halftime.
Well, what they did last year, I believe, was week 17. Josh Allen played a series and then sat down, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Till, what do you want to see the organization do over these last 2 weeks?
Well, I would say I'd like to see them finish 13-3. I'd like to see the duo of Sean McDermott and Josh Allen firmly in the mix for their respective league awards, meaning Sean McDermott for Coach of the Year and Josh Allen in the running for MVP. Now, I know with what Rodgers did last night in the snow, it's going to be a little bit of a long shot for Allen. However, with McDermott, there's still an open door in my mind. With Stefanski losing to the Jets, that's going to put a little bit of a tarnish on his bid, I believe, to win Coach of the Year. Brian Flores is probably still in the mix as well, given what he's done. But if McDermott can finish 13-3, sweep the Dolphins, Stefanski's on a little bit of a slide. Tomlin, obviously. LaFleur is a good candidate in the NFC, but the Packers had success last year. So my mind now turns to Sean McDermott as a potential Coach of the Year candidate. And I think to do that, he needs to win these. We need to win these last 2 games. And like Knapp said, however we win that last game, if it's playing the starters for a series or treating it like a preseason game, if you win that game against Miami, even with your starters not in a majority of the time, that, in my mind, may even strengthen McDermott's bid, given that Brian Flores is nipping at his heels and possibly even ahead of him right now for however that works out. But if McDermott can beat Flores with starters not playing the entire time, sweeping Miami, I think that kind of at least puts him in the top echelon conversation for Coach of the Year.
Judge, what do you think? What do you want out of the next 2 weeks?
I think that you can. I think you could start preparing for the playoffs, and while also at the same time sort of resting your players without fully going into preseason mode. And what I mean by this, and I mentioned it in the first hour, you look on defense. I mean, you could just give AJ Epenesa more snaps. You can give Daryl Johnson more snaps. It can be less snaps for Jerry Hughes. It can be less snaps for Mario Addison. Same with guys like Harrison Phillips, who you're trying to get back, Justin Zimmer. At linebacker, you can have AJ Klein shift over to the middle, and Tyrell Dodson can come in for some series. You can have some series where Dean Marlowe takes over at free safety, and if Jaquan Johnson is healthy, he takes over at strong safety. You can have other series where Trey White comes out and you have Levi Wallace and Josh Norman on the corners. Just getting some of your starters rests while also getting some of your backups some run with maybe some starting caliber players to get them comfortable if they do have to come in if there's an injury during the playoffs. On the offensive side of the ball, just be more balanced. Run the football more to take more off of Josh Allen so he doesn't have to drop back and take as many hits. Get Dawson Knox more involved to get him more comfortable. All the things that they do with Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley. How about ISOing Gabriel Davis and trying to get Gabriel Davis a little bit more comfortable and confident heading into the playoffs? Little things here and there I think the Buffalo Bills can do to stay competitive and to go 2-0 over these next 2 games, while at the same time preparing themselves for the playoffs and getting some of these backups some valuable snaps in case there is an injury. In the postseason.
Before we get to the super chat, we see you, Fluffy Panda, with a super chat. I want to answer this question as well because have you guys ever seen the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with
Yes.
Leonardo DiCaprio
Great movie.
and Brad Pitt? And while the hippies are attacking the house, Leo goes and gets the flamethrower and just completely torches the girl. If Josh Allen and Matt Barkley could just torch New England and Miami over the last 2 weeks, to Judge's point, if the backups can go out and do it because you're limiting the snaps for the starters, that's exactly what I want to see, because then it's like good luck everybody else, because our depth is going out there and flame throwing you guys. So that's what I want to see. If you do limit the snaps from the starters, that's great. But again, what I said in the previous hour about offseason moves, whatever Brandon Beane wants to do, I'm good with it. I'm not going to complain. The last 2 weeks, whatever Sean McDermott decides to do, I'm good. I'm just going to enjoy the ride. Fluffy Panda, I see you. Sorry. Go ahead, Judge.
If we do in week 17 decide to treat it like a preseason game, I think I'd like to see the Buffalo Bills work away into letting it be Jake Fromm. Like, Jake Fromm did not get a preseason. He was a 5th round pick. The game is clearly a wash to you anyway. I would rather see Jake Fromm in week 17 than Matt Barkley. Like, Matt Barkley has been doing it in practice. He knows his teammates. He understands the system. Why even risk your backup quarterback to an injury? I would like to see a quarterback combination of a Jake Fromm and a Davis Webb the last week of the season if we are going to throw in the towel. against the
Here's to
Patriots.
add on to that, and this is from the Twitter account where I first got the idea. Yards per pass said, isolate Matt Barkley, let him be your COVID quarterback in the playoffs. And because if Josh Allen goes down, we're going to be struggling either way. So you isolate Matt Barkley during the week and bring him to the active roster on game days. Just to add on to that.
Yeah. Fluffy Panda had a super chat. Sorry, Fluffy Panda. What do you say?
Why is Santa and Wes Welker here? LLL. By the ways, Bills haven't played to full potential. They have ability to 51-3 opponents. Go Bills. I love that. Throwing it back to the Raiders AFC Championship game. I believe that was 1991. Correct me if I'm wrong. When the Hall of Fame defensive end, who is now on Fox Sports, I cannot think of his name.
Howie Long.
Howie Long, after the game, basically just said nobody was going to stop them in that game, no matter what anybody did. So, yeah, Fluffy Panda, I agree. Nap, what do you think?
I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, is that as good as we've been seeing the Bills play, even like the offense itself, like we know the defense isn't at its full potential yet because they're starting to put things together and they're getting better and better every week. But like the offense still has pieces to come back. John Brown's still not even going to be active for this game. And we're still talking about how good this passing attack has been. Like you add another top tier wide receiver to this team, to this offense, and it doesn't matter who you want to throw out there. They could just rotate guys, keep guys fresh, and the defense isn't going to be able to keep up because of that. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. This team, as good as they've played, they have not played to their potential yet because there's still penalties that are leaving points on the board. There's still just mental errors here and there that are leaving points on the board. And that happened just last week when they put up 48. So, putting up a 51-3 game it's a potential for this team. They have the ability to do that. Obviously, that's not like a week in and week out type of thing. But if the offense and the defense both plays to their ceiling in a game, I don't see any reason why this team couldn't do something like that. I don't think that that's like a playoff thing for this team because, like we mentioned earlier in the show, like you play against some really, really good teams in the playoffs. Like nobody's a slouch once you get to that point. But I don't see any reason why this team couldn't, if they get to that point where they're all playing at their best, I don't see any reason why that couldn't happen.
We haven't played a game where we have seen all three phases click, have we? I mean, maybe Denver, but it also wasn't we were
the fumble. There's the fumble.
We were talking up Denver as a good team, and then Denver lays a dud. Was that because of our performance or because Denver was a dud? If that's maybe our only game that we've played all three phases together.
And let's not forget, we still had a lot of penalties in the red zone in that game as well, right? We had the 1st and 30, which we ended up scoring a touchdown.
Josh Allen threw a touchdown anyway. That should put the fear of God into opposing defensive coordinators.
He threw seven. He threw 7 touchdowns.
We committed 25 yards worth of penalties on a 1st and goal situation, and Josh Allen throws a touchdown anyway. That should keep defensive coordinators up at night.
It should, and those are the things that you can still clean up. Why we're saying, like Nap is saying, this team still hasn't really played, and like you guys are all saying, we still haven't really played that super, super clean game. And we've been close, and I think we're getting a little nitpicky right now because like we've, like we said, we demolished Denver, and we're kind of nitpicking out. So we're nitpicking because we still see areas where the Bills could potentially clean up. Now, it's very difficult in a single game to obviously have no mistakes, no penalties. Like that's a little bit of a pipe dream, I think. But if you say take like 2 plays and you say we don't have the fumbled punt and maybe we just don't have like one of those penalties, maybe you still have a couple others, like that's not like an unreasonable thing to think on top of how the rest of the game went, to think that the Bills can do that.
Judge, thoughts?
Oh, you want my opinion? Sorry.
I said thoughts, not opinion.
Okay. I'll tell you
Only
what.
facts, please.
And it's crazy. This goes back to sort of good teams, even when they have a bad day, they still find a way to win. What was crazy about that game was the offense had all those penalties in the red zone, and it took them a million to score. And the one time they had to settle for the field goal, Andre Roberts fumbled and gave them the touchdown heading into the half. Yet we still managed to absolutely, I'm not going to use the word I was going to use. We actually crushed that team. I was going to use a not so nice word, but I've decided not to. There might be families watching. It's the primetime game, you know.
You manscaped Buffalo manscaped the team.
I was gonna say skull fuck, but we skull fucked them. So
that's what I call my chip when I'm near the green and it goes across the green into the other hole.
We beat the heck out of them, and we like it almost seemed like we weren't even trying. So that is the sign of a good football team. So I hope what we see tonight is another performance just like that, where we go out and we execute and we do a really good job and we beat this team handily. Because there's a difference, I think, between beating a team like Denver and Vic Fangio and Drew Lock and beating Bill Belichick. There's always that as bad as the roster is, there's always that Bill Belichick factor.
And Steve, what I said last week that you said you actually liked, the smart fairy comes around like Santa Claus for me once a year. And I said something smart last week that you actually liked, was that don't put any weaknesses on tape because it's Bill Belichick this week. And this is a copycat league. So if you're Josh Allen or you're the defense, don't show any weaknesses. You have to come out guns blazing in this game. And honestly, I want the Bills to play to put the fear of God into the opposing coordinators coming up, because that means they have to prepare more for us. They have to spend more time on tape, and that just makes their job harder. Now, I got about 9 minutes before I got to get out of here so I can get home during this small town rush hour traffic. But I saw a tweet that said something like the Patriots have given up 436 yards rushing the last 2 games. And I said, it actually was my first week on the BF Tailgate, was the first New England game back on November 1st. And I said my bold prediction was Motor and Moss would have 100 yards each. They finished that game each with above 80. Do we think that the Bills come out and run it a bunch of times again against this New England Patriots team? Looking at their defense, they're 27th in the league, giving up yards rushing per game at 133 on average.
Yeah, no Lawrence Guy today either. So Lawrence Guy is out. Jawan Bentley, their middle linebacker, is out. This is a team where the last time the Buffalo Bills faced them, everyone's like, we're a passing team. We're a passing team. We got to be a passing team. But Bill Belichick gave the Buffalo Bills no choice the last time they played him. He dropped back dime. He played dime the entire game. He was dropping everybody. He was rushing 4. He was rushing 5. That was it. And he was dropping everybody back into coverage. They were playing zone when they're usually a man team too. And he just wasn't letting anything go over the top. And I said in the first hour, that's kudos to Josh Allen, how far he's come in 3 years, because his first year, Bill Belichick wanted him to throw the football. Now he doesn't want him to throw the football. So the Buffalo Bills were just sort of, it was dictated to them. You have to run the football. So if Bill Belichick's going to come out today and he's going to drop back into dime and drop those guys back, hell yeah, we're going to throw it, or we're going to run it all over them. But if he decides to switch something up, and he decides to play a different type of defense where maybe he starts going back to playing man-to-man, and there are some chances for Allen to take shots, and maybe he starts blitzing some more people to try to pressure Josh Allen, you could see the Buffalo Bills significantly change their game plan and go from the run-heavy to the pass-heavy. But I don't think Bill Belichick will change too much, mostly because I don't think he doesn't care about this game. I think he's just counting down the hours till he can get to the offseason and create a football team that he cares about, because it's clear that he doesn't care about this one. So I think he's just going to come out. He's going to play soft zone the entire game. And he's just going to be like, all right, the Bills, you kind of are iffy at running the football, so try to run on me. And we're going to run on them. I think you'll see 15 carries from Singletary. I think you see 15 carries from Moss. I think you'll be surprised at how much we run the football today. But it'll be a nice little balance, and we'll win this football game.
To add on to that about, like, if they do play like a soft zone to try and slow down the Bills passing game, the running game and the offensive line for the Bills is at a completely different point at this point in the season than they were back then. Like, I'm pretty sure we were playing Brian Winters at that game, and I think Mitch Morse actually left the game with injury, right? Like, he got hurt in that game too.
That was the infamous Butker Bates game.
Yes. So, like, the offensive line was it was nowhere close to the best that they could be, and they've been playing pretty well recently. So I think if Buffalo does decide what we want to do in this game is just run the ball more because we should have a lot of opportunities to do it, I think we could see similar or even possibly better overall numbers from the running game than we saw last time because of where like the Bills offense and the Bills offensive line and running game is just as a whole.
And
the Patriots can run the ball, but they can't stop it. And so
no, they can't.
And Damian Harris is out as well. So Damian Harris isn't even playing for him. So they're going to be using Sony Michel, and they're going to be using Rex Burkhead and James White, and I think JJ Taylor is active. But you saw. Here's one thing I think I do few games, and it's not that we need it. I just want to know we have it in our back pocket. What A.J. Dillon did to the Tennessee Titans last night, to see if Zach Moss is capable of that. Not because I don't believe in Josh Allen, not because I believe our offense needs a balance or anything like that. I just want to know, I as a fan, want to have the confidence that that's in our back pocket, that we can pound the rock. If we come out and there's a game and it's snowy as heck and you have to limit the number of times you throw the ball to like 20 to 25 times, do we have a running back who can between the tackles chug out 4 or 5 yards of carry and carry your football team and pick up those first downs you need in a game like that? So I know the conditions are nice here, and I don't know what the conditions are going to be next weekend, but it would be nice to see Zach Moss more so than Singletary have a really solid outing these last 2 weeks. Not only because I need him and Josh Allen to combine for like 18 points to win my fantasy championship tonight, which I think I'll do. I just want to know we have that in our back pocket heading into the playoffs if we need it.
Like I said, the last time we played the Patriots, I said Motor and Moss would get 100 yards each. They came up in the 80s for that game. I think it is certainly possible that one of them goes off tonight. Maybe a multi-score touchdown game from either of them, really. Mm-hmm. If you think that's going to be Moss, go for it. But I got about 3 minutes left, and I want to give you my final thoughts. Like I said earlier, anybody, anytime, anywhere. McDermott is not playing for seeding because if he has to go on the road for all 4 games for the Super Bowl, he will do it in order to win. So he will play anybody, anytime, anywhere. He'll go barnstorming if it means he gets a chance at a Super Bowl. I don't think he's playing for seeding. I don't think that's the way he thinks. He's going to play for momentum to get his team to peak at the right time. And if he can rest his starters next week or rest his key guys and keep the momentum, he will do it. But for tonight, I think it's New England. It's a hollowed house of ghosts that the Bills have in that building, and let's go exercise them. Let's go out there and show, because 12 wins means something. Mm-hmm. Go out there and get 12 wins for this team. Judge.
I have a question for you, Jeff, before you go. Okay. Hypothetically speaking, there's not going to be any fans in the stands, so there are going to be 0 fans for this game. If COVID didn't exist and there were no restrictions, would there be more than 0 fans in the stands tonight to watch this New England Patriots team?
No, I believe they've all migrated to northwestern Florida. Because we have the chance there would be fans in the stands, and the chances that it would be more than 50% Bills fans would be like 100%. That the stadium,
the number of people who took the picture below that billboard was incredible.
Oh yeah. I believe it, guys. It's 5:44. We got about half an hour until kickoff from Foxborough, Massachusetts, as the Bills take on Providence's team, the New England Patriots. Guys, go Bills. I'm going to get out of here so I can get home and get to kickoff. Thanks for having me on, fellas, and go team, go Bills, and enjoy the rest of your show.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
That's it.
All right. Does that mean I'm in charge now? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I think you are.
It's always the person in this corner.
Let me just do a final thought on the running game because you guys were talking about how it's a lot different. There's no Burkhead, right? He tore his ACL. There's no Damian Harris. So it's going to be James White and Sony Michel. It's a completely different group that the Patriots are going to be sending out than we saw last time. And they ran the ball pretty well with Damian Harris against this last time. Burkhead did a little. This duo of James White and Sony Michel is, in my opinion, less daunting than the duo of Damian Harris and Rex Burkhead. And while I respect James White and he's been a hell of a player for the Patriots over the years, the Bills have actually done a really good job this year in containing like receiving backs, right? And stopping, limiting damage to backs out of the backfield. So as long as they continue on that trend, like James White really hasn't had the same type of year that he's had in years past, but there's still, like Jeff was saying, there's an element here of going against Belichick, going into Foxborough, it being on Monday night. There's like 3 things the Bills can kind of check off from an exercising the demons standpoint, regardless of whether there's fans in the stands or not tonight. It's still going to be a big spot for them, like you said, Knapp. So I'm confident that the Bills can contain the Patriots running game tonight. I will say that. I'm fairly confident.
It's funny exercising demons like that. Chad chimed in a little bit earlier in the comments section back. He says the Bills' most dominating win against the Patriots in franchise history. We all remember that Sunday game, right?
Oh yeah.
Was it 56-10?
Yep.
So
Ryan Amos.
I was watching my
Just a disgusting game.
I was watching the Bulls playing the MAC game, which they did not win. I think I blame Knapp. It's Knapp's loss.
Look, you cursed them.
I don't want to. Anyway, they won their bowl more than the University of Ohio about their season. So anyway, they were talking about how Lance Leipold, one of the things that were in the MAC championship, blew a pretty significant lead in that game to an inferior opponent. And one of the things that Lance Leipold did was, like, right from the beginning of offseason workouts, he started playing the highlight tapes of that bowl game where they blew that lead in the weight room. And he was doing it to sort of inspire his players and make them not forget what happened to them the last season so they could exercise those demons the next season. Obviously, that failed. They got curb stomped against Ball State. I don't want to talk about it. They still won their bowl game. But I'm playing highlights of that 56-10 game in the weight room at One Bills Drive this week. And I am talking to the players about how this team absolutely destroyed us over the past 20 seasons, how childhoods like mine have been ruined. You got, like, people are like, why is Judge the way he is? Why is he so weird? Why Belichick haunts my damn dreams every night? Tom Brady damn dreams every night. The New England Patriots ruined childhood. That is why I am the way I am. So if I'm Sherman, I am expressing that locker room this week. Like, listen, this league, they've owned this division. They've owned our fan base. They've dominated our lives for the past 20 years. Let's go out here and let's exercise demons, just the shit out of them, and let them head into Miami and knock dudes out of the playoffs. That's what I'm doing if I'm the Buffalo Bills. Do you guys think there's something to exercising those demons now?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like that idea. Like, this has been a team that over the course of the last 20 years has been, and I think Joe Miller's the guy who said it first, at least that I heard, like, they've been the bully. So in order to get over that, sometimes you have to be the one to beat up the bully. And I'm literally just stealing that directly from him because I loved when he said it. But every now and then, that's what has to happen. In order for you to get over a bully, you have to be the one that beats them up. You have to kind of put them down a little bit so that they're not going to end up coming back over and over and over again like they've done it before. And I think this is a perfect spot to do it. You beat them up on a national stage, on their own home turf. Even if they're not the same team, it's still like that figurehead is still there. Bill Belichick is still there. And to kind of put him in his place of, like, you're not the leader of this division anymore. You've had your time. Your time's over. This is what better time to do it than right here, right now.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question, because obviously the Bills already won the AFC East. If they don't win tonight, does that mean anything for us in sort of the long term as far as not taking a stranglehold on the division, or does it really not matter in the long run? Is it more of just a bonus for us if we win tonight than anything, or is there more to it than that?
I think yes and no. Like, the Bills still have the better standing long term, but if you're not able to, with how much better the Bills are at this point, if you're not able to go into Foxborough and beat a team that is just like, they have so little talent on this roster at this point, with all of their injuries, with all of their opt-outs, with the face of the franchise leaving this past year, like with all of that saying, like, yeah, the Bills are still going to be in a better position moving forward. And they should still be the team that, like, the favorite in the division moving forward. But it does mean something if you're not able to take all of that and still just come in and get the victory, because when you should get wins, you need to get those wins. And Belichick's a guy that, like, he can make life difficult, but when you're just a better team, you need to just go in and win. So long term, is it really a big difference? Probably not, but it means a lot more in the moment to get that win.
Yeah, the game means a lot more to the Bills tonight than it does the Patriots in that regard, because, you know, Belichick has that out that the team's already eliminated. This is a bad team, right? And so it's up to the Bills, like you said, to now just take it. Go do what you're supposed to do tonight. You're supposed to win this game. You're a 7+ point road favorite, which is kind of unheard of in the NFL. So go out and do what you're supposed to do tonight. And honestly, the Bills, to their credit, have been doing what they have been supposed to be doing over the last 2 months of the season, Hail Murray aside. Like, they've done everything they needed to do. And so the more they keep doing that, the more we get removed from the scars of the past, I think, in the confidence builds. Not just, you know, for the team, the confidence is obviously there, and they have a different mentality than we do as fans. They have, you know, they have all these, like, sports psychiatry, like, they're just mentally in a better place to do it than we are as fans. But for the fans, it also helps us get rid of those scars that have been there for years. Every time we do something we're supposed to do, and we do it, you know, in succession, it gives us more confidence every time afterwards. So I'm with you. Like, this is just another one of those on the path to having that confidence.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I was elected. Well, the ESPN Monday Night Countdown is on, and then I'll tell you what, it's fun. Centric. It is Bills heavy. It is Josh Allen, Diggs every other 2 seconds. Like, it is really over at the ESPN Monday Night Countdown. I will say this though, ESPN does do the best highlight animations. They need to go. Like, those ESPN Monday Night Football, if they money they spent on those animations and spent it on, you know, commentators and analysts that knew how to, I think that'd be money more well spent. Because it's clear where the money is going right now at ESPN. It's not going to the talent; it's going to whatever cartoon characters they want to animate that week. But got a comment here from Panda, and he's they're all Bucks fans now, talking about this is going Patriots fan conversation we were having. Funny stories. Yeah, have any funny Patriot stories, because two of my all-time favorite stories that I like to share. Number one is I was in the stands for the Leo fumble game. I was there. It was me.
Brutal.
It was my crew. We were there. We were having a good time. Sucks, by the way. It's like a football stadium by a shopping mall. It just sucks. It's stupid. Like, we walk in and the first thing we see is a martini stand, or no, a margarita stand, and they had like some kind of like Mongolian bar pit. I'm like, what the give me a hot dog and a beer, please. Like, we get yelled at for sitting down or for standing up for touchdowns. Kick touchdown, but that's where I was going. I just love ripping on New England. We ran into a Patriots fan in the halftime. We were having a conversation with him, and he said, "Yeah, don't listen to half the people here. They're only here because they Red Sox." And that was one of my favorite stories. You got any good Bills stories?
Well, I will say this. I was this is before I had Sunday Ticket. I used to go to the bar all the time to watch the games. Like, this was like kind of right when I was out of college, and I would always go to this Bills bar in Cary here where I live, and one of the best, one of the best stories I guess I can think of, because there hasn't been very many positive ones, was that Fitz game, right, where we came down. We got down 21-0. We came back. We went down. We took the knee because we didn't want to leave the Patriots any time left at the game. They got that roughing, unnecessary roughness call, and I just remember feeling such a euphoric feeling when we finally beat them, because it was just one of those things, like outside of that 31-0 season opener from, I believe it was it the 01 season? I can't remember exactly.
Sometime around then.
It was around then, yeah. Like we hadn't beaten them in a meaningful game in like almost 20 games. So like there hasn't been a ton of like good experiences for me with Pats fans or watching the Bills and the Pats, but that game stands out for me because now if the Bills win like a game like that, I'm usually at home because I'm watching Sunday Ticket at home. So to experience that, at least with a bunch of people and a bunch of Bills fans, with the audio in the bar being the Bills audio, that was something I'll never forget. And we all did Kettle One shots afterwards, which was great.
We got my dad in the comments. Dad, he said, "Hey, I was with you at that game." Of course you were. I don't even think I had his license. I would have been able to get there with my father. Nap, how about you? Any good Patriot stories?
I think my best Pats fan. It's not really necessarily a story, but like I only have one friend who's a Pats fan. Like, thank God, right? Like, only one of them. And I only see him once a year. Yeah, one too many. But even with that being said, like, I only see him once a year, and every single year it's like right after free agency and then the draft, and every single year until like the last 2 years, the conversations have not gone a favorable way for me, which is like very understandable considering how the Bills have played against the Patriots. But over the course of the last 2 years, things have started to change, and it's felt really good. I actually had him on the podcast before the season. He was the Pats fan that I had on the podcast, and it felt awesome talking to him and just hearing how dejected he was leading into the year about the team and the situation, and like just hearing him say like, yeah, it's not our year. This division is not our division. Just knowing that him and all of the other Pats fans who have a brain understood that like the team is not the same team anymore and things are going to be different. I think just seeing that change this offseason was one of the best feelings that I've been able to have interacting with Pats fans, because you're always going to get the fans that say like stupid things and make stupid comments with every single fan base. And there's always going to be overconfident fans no matter who you're interacting with. But just getting the feeling of like, yeah, our time's up. And seeing a fan base go through that and start to have that feeling, that's been incredible over the course of literally the last year, getting to experience that.
All right, we got one more super chat here from Fluffy Panda. He says, "There are times to be LaRusso and there are times to be Johnny. Sweep the damn leg, no mercy." For those who are avid fans of Cobra Kai, like me, on Netflix, new season is January 1, so look for that. That's how I'll be spending my New Year's Day, watching the Cobra Kai. For those of you who are the Karate Kid reference. So with that being said, let's start talking about game predictions here. Game prediction. You have the best mustache. What is your game today? We'll let you lead it off.
So I think that the Bills are going to control the game the entire time, and I don't think that's any real surprise. It might not be like the 48-point game where it's a complete air raid offense, but I think the Bills just have to go out there, whatever they feel like is best for the offense, just go out there and do that. Don't let Bill Belichick dictate the game. And I think the Bills end up winning 34-17. Josh Allen plays well. I think he outplays what he did previously against the Patriots, has his best game that he's had as a pro against the Patriots. finally kind of, I think a couple of people said it, like get that monkey off their back. And I think the Bills win 34-17. I actually think that the Patriots get that 17 because they have a garbage time score where it's really not close the entire game. And kind of what we saw against the Broncos, where it's not close at all, but then they score late to close it just a little bit. Not the same margin, but I got the Bills winning big.
Yeah. I'm similar to you. My prediction is 27-13. I think the Bills, they never really blow the Patriots out. Like it's game for all. Not really going to be a game. That is my prediction. Somebody says, "Bro, is your internet?" Apparently, Wi-Fi get that worked out for the next show, so I do apologize for that. My prediction is 27 Bills. Dave, I will leave it to you to finish it out.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, Steve. I don't think they're not really ever going to blow the Pats out regardless. I mean, the Patriots, their last two games, obviously it's a week-to-week league, so it's very hard to predict that they will go similarly to how that's been the last two games. But the Rams game, obviously they didn't play well, and it was kind of a joke. And then they lost to Miami last week. They only put up 12 points. So the Patriots have only scored 15 total points in their last two games. I don't see the Patriots scoring much more than somewhere around that number tonight. So I'll agree with that. Maybe somewhere around 17. They might sneak close to 20, but it would be in a kind of an inconsequential circumstance, I think. I don't think the Bills are necessarily going to score like a huge number of points either, just because I do think that they will try. They will run the ball based on the fact that I think you're right about Belichick kind of dropping into zone for most of the game, kind of daring the Bills to run it. And I also think Belichick too, as much as he's given up on the season, he doesn't want Josh Allen to look that good against his team in prime time. So even if it means he loses the game, but it's not because of Josh Allen slinging it a ton, he'll take the fact that the Bills are going to have to run the ball. So I'll say the Bills 27, Pats 17.
All right. That should just, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you, any of you ever want, I am the way I am. My father is in the comment yelling at me because he hasn't gotten his Manscaped ball toner that I say would send him. So on the way, I will stop embarrassing me on the internet. All right. But ladies and gentlemen, let's do it. ESPN is kicking their pregame show into full highlights galore. Head on over to ESPN. Watch your star quarterback kicks. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.